Let's go ahead and start the broadcast, start letting people in.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tampa REIA. I'm starting to see people filter in for the meeting before the meeting with Don DeRosa. So we're going to give everybody a minute to assemble. So bear with us. We'll get started here shortly. I do have 6 o'clock. Don, let's try to wrap it up do a hard break at 7.
Okay.
That way we can try to get Leon as close to time as possible.
Yeah, I don't want to go over with him feeling
Yeah.
as bad as he does. So.
Yep. All right, well, let's get officially started. I welcome everyone to Tampa REIA. This is the meeting before the meeting. Appreciate you guys all coming out and being with us here tonight. I said coming out. I doubt you're coming out. You're probably sitting at home somewhere, out in your backyard and on the patio or on your couch. Who knows where you're watching from tonight. It's kind of funny. We were all together a month ago in person. Don wasn't. Don was in Atlanta last month, but we had Bill Twyford at the meeting before the meeting. We were all joking around about this coronavirus. Remember drinking a 6-pack of Corona and all that? Posting all those silly memes about toilet paper. And here we are a month later. Who would have thought that we'd be all stuck at home for a month or 2 or who knows how long? But here we are. Here we are. So what are we going to do about it? Well, that's what Don's going to be talking about tonight. He's going to talk about how to navigate through the pandemic and what to expect in upcoming months. And then Lee Kearney is going to be here later tonight talking about something very similar, how to survive the next recession that may be coming as a result of this. We've gone from all-time low unemployment, historical low unemployment, to I saw today almost 17 million people within the past 3 weeks out of a job. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Don's going to talk about his thoughts on that, what his predictions are for the future. Nobody knows. Nobody knows, but we can predict, we can prepare, we can take action today, not wait till this thing's over, but start taking action today to make things happen. So I know Don's going to be talking about that tonight. So I appreciate you being here tonight, Don. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn the floor over to you. If you folks at home have questions, please send them in via the Q&A interface that is on the Zoom toolbar. There's also a chat feature. If you want to use the chat feature and let us know if you can hear us okay, please do so now. Just let us know via the chat box if you can hear okay. We'd appreciate it. Yep. Yep. Several people said sounds good. Good. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn the floor over to Don and mute my mic and turn off my video. And Don, take it away. Thank you again for being here tonight, everybody.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, I hope first and foremost, let me say, I hope everybody is safe and sound. I know Lee, he's probably going to give you his what's been happening to him, but we're all safe here in Georgia. We've been sheltering in place, as they say. And over the last 3 weeks, I have probably spent more time sitting in this chair talking to people on the phone than I probably have in the last 3 years. And they're all asking the same question. Everybody is wanting to know, how's this going to affect us? What can we expect to see in the market? So I kind of highlighted those in the little box where it's right here that said, when's it going to hit us? Where will we see it first? I mean, these are all questions. Now, I think you guys can raise your hand. Can they raise their hand? Maybe Dustin, is he still, I don't know if you're still there, but try, yeah, you can raise your hand. Good. Because I'm going to ask you a series of questions to kind of raise your hand. And that's going to help me. I can put your hand down. Let me figure out how to put your hand down here. Not quite sure how to put your hands down, but chat box up. But anyways, one of the things that, like I said, my phone has been ringing off the hook is, how's this going to affect us? Well, let me start by saying this. It's going to affect all of us. Now, I hate this may come across the wrong way, and I don't want it to come across the wrong way because I'm deeply concerned about everybody. But this is going to be a very unique opportunity for all of us if you understand how to maneuver your way through. We are going to be faced with, I mean, Dustin mentioned it. We went from the highest in our history of 650,000 people unemployed in 1982, I believe is what the date was, to 2 weeks ago, we were at 3 million. 1 week ago, we were at 6 million. And now total, we're up to almost 16 million, almost 17 million people on unemployment. So I'm going to give you my take on this, and we can kind of open it up to people that have questions. But, you know, I've been teaching this for decades. And one of the things that we talk about, and you've probably been, if you're brand new, how many people were brand new? Raise your hand if you're brand new and this is your first meeting or something like that. So raise your hand, see if I can see your hands go up. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where you put your hands. Okay, so there's quite a few of you that are new.
Yeah, I can see them. They're under the participants.
How do I put their hands down?
There's a button at the bottom that says lower hands. I can do it for you.
Well, I saw it the other night, but I don't see it tonight that says
If you go to the under participants, click on the attendee tab. I have a lower hands right under all their names.
All I have is their name set. Okay, well, not a big deal.
I can lower it if you need me to.
Yeah, just lower them because I kind of want to. I'm going to be asking some questions, so you might want to pay attention because I lost where I could lower their hands, so I don't know. Anyway, so those of you that are brand new, you probably haven't experienced the 2008. Well, a lot of us that have been around for a while have gone through several cycles, and I've seen several cycles, and some of you, I recognize your names, and you have too. And there's a big difference between what happened in 2008 and what is happening now. So I'm going to give you a little history lesson. Back in 2000, prior to 2008, and these are all things that you're going to need to be thinking about kind of going forward and how you can, because right now, I believe everybody is just kind of holding their breath. Everyone's just kind of holding their breath going, okay, what's going to happen? Everybody's unsure. Everybody, they're like, okay, we want to go, we want to get out and do things, but we're afraid. And so we're going to listen to the governor and the powers that be, and we're going to shelter in place in the whole 9 yards. Well, there's going to come a time when that gets lifted. But let me tell you, life as we know it right now, or 3 weeks ago, has pretty much, in my opinion, come to an end. Now, am I saying that life's over? Absolutely not. But I am saying that things are going to change, and the way we interact, the way we purchase, the way we do everything. So I want you to think about going forward, how someone other than the people that, imagine us sitting in a room, imagine what do the people outside of the real estate investing arena, what do they think? What are they going to go through? So think about this. In 2008, what created the crash was poor loans. The banks themselves, it was self-imposed, right? Meaning they had crappy loans, they had bad practices, and it created a financial collapse within the system. And that had a rippling effect for a number of years, pretty much probably 10 years, right? Back then, interest rates were 6.5%, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, depending on your credit. Okay. A little bit prior to that, before the crash. Prior to that, so I'm going to back up even further. When I first started this business in the late 90s, there was another recession in the 90s, but what had happened in the 90s, people would go and they would have a first, and because their interest rates were relatively low, they would go out and get a large second mortgage. Or they wouldn't refi because their interest rates were pretty low, right? Relatively speaking. But they had equity in their house. So a lot of folks went out and got second mortgages. Well, when things happen, they get into foreclosure. So when I stepped into the scene in the late 90s, the technique that I made a lot of money with was I learned how to buy properties subject to the first, and then I would go and I would find these medium-sized second mortgages that the first was in foreclosure, and I would short sell the second off. And this was before people even knew what a short sale was, right? I literally stumbled upon it, but I made a small fortune on doing it that way. So go forward a little bit. Back then, banks, if you went to a bank and said, hey, I want to modify this loan, anybody that was in foreclosure, they would have told you, no way in hell I'm going to modify this loan. They just wouldn't do it. It wasn't in their repertoire to do. It was in there, but no banks would agree to it. No banks would even think about it. They would just rather foreclose and move on. Okay. Fast forward a little bit to 2008, and all of a sudden we had this crash. Well, now banks were overwhelmed with all this bad paper, and they were failing all over the place. I mean, they were several banks failing every day. Well, then they changed their tune and they said, okay, well, we can't have all these foreclosures because we'll fail too. So we're going to modify this. And by the way, all this paper that they were writing over the last 10 years was all garbage, meaning it was poorly written. You know, you had MERS, the robo signing and all that stuff, and it created a mess in the paperwork. So over the last 10, 15 years now, last 10 years, what they've done is they've kind of cleaned that up. Well, now we were in a seller's market. All was going well. Let's say a year ago, we were in probably one of the best sellers markets we were in. Now, again, this is based on the people that are new and may not be aware of how things have gone. I'm giving you a history lesson here, and hopefully you can bear with me. So all of that happened. Banks got healthier. I mean, there for a long time, they weren't lending at all. They were just charging fees. So they got healthier, paid all that stimulus money back. And now they started getting into some crappier, more questionable loans. And the process kind of seemed to slide back into, so we went from a seller's market into what I would call a transitional market. We weren't into a buyer's market by any stretch of the imagination, but we were slowing down, and that was a natural course of any real estate cycle. So any of you thinking that we were actually beyond that cycle. So we were sliding into a more traditional. Well, then COVID-19 hit, and that is going to literally push us into, I hope I'm wrong, but on the verge of a depression. Because we have unprecedented things happening. So I just read the other day that because of the shelter in place. Divorce inquiries, not filings, inquiries are up. I don't know where I get this number from, but there was a number out there, up 300%. So I want you to think about what the opportunities are going to be going forward coming out of this, and how you need to prepare yourself to be able to handle the onslaught, right? Because I want to think about, we talk about in this business how to we only deal with motivated sellers. Well, prior to this, remember, we've been in a seller's market. Now, those of you that may not know what a seller's market is, a seller's market is where there is very low inventory of houses to buy and lots of buyers. So a seller can be extremely picky. Prices tend to go up dramatically. People fight over that, and people are basically buying stuff that in a normal market they wouldn't buy because it's too overpriced. But because there's such low inventory, they've got to do something, and that's what forces the price up. Okay, well, then you transition into that. And that's, like I said, that's a normal cycle for all real estate. We go through that cycle historically about every 10 to 12 years. So now we are rapidly thrown into a buyer's market, not by choice, but by the whole systemic thing that's going on. Because think about what is happening. You have probably your divorce rates are going to go up. So I believe that, people pent up, they're going to get frustrated with one another. They're going to have cabin fever. You have 16, 17 million people out of work. Now that's a temporary, that's a misnomer. That number is very misleading, because a lot of businesses have said, here, I'm going to furlough you and you still have a job. I'm not really firing you, but I can't pay you. So that was the huge spike that you see. And then as soon as we lift the stay in place or shelter in place, most of those people will go back to work. And that number will come way down, but it will not come down to the level of where it was, because people just simply won't be able to recover from that. That's going to create a lot of opportunities for, think about, in Georgia, for example, Airbnb. They just said, Governor Kemp said, no Airbnbs are allowed to operate for the next 30 days. Well, I'm not quite sure how he can dictate that, but he can, and he did. So I don't know what it's like in Florida yet. I don't know if they've banned those, but they did say that there were exceptions, like hotels were exceptions and something else was an exception. And I thought to myself, I would much rather stay in an Airbnb by myself than to go to a commercial hotel where I'm around other people. But hey, that's just me. I don't get it. Anyways, so you have the Airbnb folks, you have the landlords that have two payments that became a landlord by accident, maybe. Well, guess what? Now the tenants don't have jobs, they're not paying. So it's going to be a snowball effect. So there's two ways we all can look at this. You can look at this and listen to me and go, oh my God, the sky is falling. What are we going to do? Or you can look at it like me and go, we'll be fine. But we need to be prepared on what we're going to do with all of these properties that are going to come to us. You're not going to be able to buy all these. You're not going to be able to help all these people. So you need to be prepared how to pick and choose. So from a real estate investor, how am I going to buy properties? And more importantly, how am I going to sell them? If we are in a buyer's market, which means inventory is immense, there's lots of inventory and very few buyers, how do you still sell and get the top price? And how do you buy and get the financing? Well, I'm trying to answer all those questions, and we've moved a bunch of stuff around throughout the year. We were going to do this much later in the year, but we've got two events coming up. One you can see on your screen called Creative Deal Structuring. That's a normal event we do every year. But this year we're changing it to gear it specifically towards owner financing. So if you want to go check it out, it's on April 25th. It's an all-day event. Go to area.us CDSO. You can sign up. I don't know how much it is. Dustin can probably tell you that later. But go there and we're going to tell you how to buy all this stuff creatively. And we're going to talk more about that tonight as time goes on. I just have to be mindful of my time. So how are you going to not only survive, but thrive in this new market? Because I make more money, to be quite honest with you, in a down market than I do an up market. And I was just talking to a guy that he and I have been friends for decades, and we've come up to the ranks together, and he was very successful. And he said this, he goes, I haven't bought a house in a year and a half. He goes, they're priced just too high for me. He goes, I'm gearing up now. He goes, I'm getting ready to buy again. And the smart investors will be able to identify this, buy low, and then hold on to them and turn around and sell it once the economy turns around. That's how you make true wealth in this business. You don't get it. And I say this quite often. People tend, if you're new, people tend to jump out of the market when they should be jumping in, and they jump in when they should be jumping out. And I'm here to tell you, this is going to be one of those times where people are going to want to tend to jump out of this market. But to be truthful, this is the time to be jumping in, to be spending money on education, to understanding how to buy creatively. Because a lot of the times people, and some of the markets that are going to get hit the hardest are going to be the Florida markets, the Arizonas, the California, all the markets that are usually the ones to go boom or bust with the economies, right? So you will probably see your fair share of that coming up. But understanding how to maneuver through it is the key to this. The key to success is understanding that. So how do we do that? What kind of techniques should we be learning now? Well, I don't want to say the days of cash are over, because cash is always king. Cash is always going to be there, and there's always going to be people with cash, but the number of buyers are going to dwindle a little bit, because you right now may have wholesalers, investors that don't have a lot of money, but only know one way. They only know how to put a house under contract and then try to sell it out there to someone who is a cash buyer, and they try to sell it for a top dollar. And a lot of times you'll see that, you may even see this. I see this a lot. I had a wholesaler say, I put houses under contract at 80, 85 cents on a dollar, and I sell it to a new buyer. Well, guess what? Those days are over. So a couple things that you're going to need to do, and this is why we're moving everything up this year. One is going to be, you need to know how to creatively deal structure every deal you get. You need to know how to talk to sellers. You need to know how to negotiate. So I'm telling you things that you need to be putting or working on in the next 3 to 6 months, hard to put in your toolbox, because it will pay you infinitely in the end. Okay, learning how to buy all cash, anybody can do that. And I'm going to tell you right now, and people will criticize me for saying this, it's going to be tough to do if you don't have other tools in your toolbox. Because if you're brand new, you don't have the contacts that you think you should, or that you think you need to, and that's going to hurt. But the way around that, the way through that, the way over that is understanding how to buy subject to, how to buy on a wraparound mortgage, how to use lease with options to purchase, how to use owner financing. And in order to do that, I'm going to show you a couple slides here in a little bit, but I want to get through these, or actually through these lists right here of talk about the what's happening. So the most important thing that you can be doing right now from an education standpoint is learning how to talk to sellers, learning how to gather the right information. We call it the 20 questions. So learning how to speak to sellers and asking the right questions. Prior to this, people in the seller's market, you didn't really care because everybody wanted cash. Well, guess what? that day, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope 6 months from now you get me on another meeting and you go, you know what, you were way off based on, and I hope I'm wrong. But in case I'm not, I'm trying to prepare everyone on how you can make millions in the coming years in this business if you just listen to me. Okay. You're going to be doing a lot of owner financing. You're going to be talking to people. So here's what you need to get good at. You need to get good at talking to sellers. You need to get good at understanding what their problem is. And in order to understand what their problem is, you have to ask the right questions. And in order to ask the right questions, when you ask the right questions, then you'll find out the problem. And then once you find out the problem, you'll know the solution, or you'll be able to help with the solution. The other thing that you need to be paying attention to is all the different programs that the banks have to offer. The more knowledgeable you are with your seller, the more credibility you will get, and the more deals you will acquire. Let me explain. If you sit down with a seller and they call you based on marketing, well, I don't care what marketing you put out there, they're going to call. What comes out of your mouth is going to be directly related to how big your bank account gets. So if you ask the right questions and you truly find out what the problem is, then and only then can you offer solutions. So some of those solutions may come in the form of you helping that homeowner out without you getting a dime. So you could go to them and say, look, here's a way. Have you tried forbearance? So I started mentioning before, banks wouldn't do modifications. Then when the crash happened, banks, that's all they would do was modify because they didn't want to take these properties back. Well, they would take a loan from 6% down to 2% and modify the paperwork, clean up all their mess that they had created before, and all was right with the world. That's why they did a lot of those modifications, because they were afraid to foreclose and they were afraid to get into inappropriate foreclosures, right? Well, those days have kind of come and gone. Well, now, back then, the government helped us by reducing interest rates. Okay, they would the Fed would drop interest rates, and we've seen some of the lowest interest rates in history. Well, guess what? We don't have the luxury now to continue to drop interest rates. It's not there. So we have to think outside the box, and we have to think other ways to help the banks, help the economy. And that's going to come in the form of forbearance. And you're going to see a lot of that. You may have even heard people talking about forbearance. It's been a buzzword that's been going around for 3 or 4 weeks now. And that's where whatever missed payments you have, whether it be on your car, and you're going to see this on cars too, whether it be on any note, really, cars, houses, they're taking whatever payments you've missed and they tack them on to the back end. And sometimes, now there's different types of forbearances, but sometimes it's just they're on there and they're just stuck there, and when it gets paid off, they get paid off. Like, years ago when they did some modifications, they took whatever the person was behind and they created a silent second mortgage. The homeowner didn't even know it was there, and stuck it on there, didn't charge them any interest rate, didn't do anything. It was just there so that when the person sold the house, it would get paid off. And a lot of times, I've seen this dozens of times, when we went to closing, the seller didn't even know there was a second on the property. And when we get there and the seller goes, well, where's my money? Your money went to pay that second off. What? I didn't even have a second. So you're going to see some of that. That's called a forbearance. But you're also going to see lenders do what's called a similar forbearance, but stretch out the payment. So for example, if I'm behind 3 months and my payment is $1,000, so I'm $3,000 behind. Now they say they're not going to charge you any fees for this, so hopefully they're correct. But let's just take that $3,000. Well, if my payment is $1,000 a month and I'm behind on that right now, when this thing's all said and done, okay, it's never going to get back to the way it was exactly. So imagine now the banks have a choice. They can take that and put it on the back and forget about it until it sells, which some people may do. Other banks are going to take that and they're going to do a workout program. And this is why it's important. If you are a person that can't make your mortgage payment right now, you need to be contacting your bank and making sure you know exactly what their intention is, because this can get you in trouble if you're not careful. So what they do is they take this money, and instead of they forbear it, they take it and stick it on the back end. Or what they'll do is they'll say, okay, you're $3,000 behind, but guess what? We're going to spread that out over 24 months. We want paid back. So you're going to take that 3,000 and we're going to spread it out over 24 months, and we're going to rewrite that. We're going to rewrite that agreement. We're going to add that to the agreement. So now your payment is, what is 3,000 divided by 24 months? I don't know, whatever it is. Let's call it $1,300. So now your payment went from 1,000 to 1,300. There's going to be lots of people like that. So what you need to be able to do is explain these programs to them and how they affect them and how they will work, because there's going to be a lot of misinformation out there. So your job over the next 6 months to a year is to get really good at this business and how you can help people. So, which brings me to, when you go to sell, you want to be the person that can help. So if you can get a good deal on the front end, guess how you're going to sell your properties on the back end? You're going to go and say, hey, if you buy my house and I'll owner finance it to you for 24 months, if you pay this price, full price, I'll give you 3 months free of mortgage payments, 6 months free. Well, most of the time I build in 6 months anyways of holding costs when I buy. So when I build in 6 months holding costs, guess what? If I can get somebody to buy right away, I've already got that factored in. Now I have a ready buyer. So that's just another tip. So that's neither here nor there at this point. We're putting the cart before the horse. So when will this all hit us? Probably not for another. I mean, you're gonna see some of it immediately. You're gonna see people start asking questions. You see that with the unemployment at 17 million people. So you're gonna see that. It's gonna kind of do a little wave. So it's gonna go up a little bit, and then once we get rid of the shelter in place, then it's gonna go back down. But then it's gonna slowly climb back up because people are still gonna need help. So where are you going to see that type of thing first? And I think it's going to be in the big cities, personally. I think it's going to be in the big metropolitan areas. All right, so here's a question from Mark. He says, Fifth Third Bank stated it's related to, they are suspending payments for 180 days, suspending foreclosures, and reporting to credit bureaus that you are current. After 180 days, you are required to pay the outstanding balance and needs to be activated before April ends. Perfect example of that. In addition, if you can't make the 3 months arrears payments at the end of 180 days, you might be able to apply for a loan modification. The loan modifications didn't pan out for a lot of folks last time. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You have to understand, we talked about we haven't talked about this, but there was a $2 trillion stimulus. I have yet to see anybody that's gotten a single penny. Not that the government isn't moving forward, but there's a saying out there when we talk about things that are happening slow, it's like an act of Congress. And that's usually referring to it's taking forever. Well, there's a reason for that statement. Like any other statement out there like that. So thanks, Mark, for pointing that out. I appreciate that. That makes my point. So where will you start to see this first? You will start to see this in the bigger metropolitan areas, the Arizonas, the Floridas, the California, the New Yorks of the world. Even the Atlantas of the world. I mean, we're now in that area where we had rapid growth. Before we were pretty flat, we were pretty consistent, and now we've done one of these. So anytime you go really fast up, you can expect to come down as well, equally as fast. You know, as they say, what goes up must come down. To a certain degree, that's true. Before I get into, well, you know what? Let me see. Let's see. Welcome, everyone. I'm just seeing if there's any questions. Thank you for being here. That's not the questions. What actions should we take at this moment? Well, in my opinion, education. In my opinion, you should be getting your marketing in order, understanding how, getting good at talking to sellers. And that comes with practice. You don't open a book, you don't go to a seminar and learn how, you can go to learn the basics, but if you want to get good at talking to the seller, you got to talk to the seller. You can't just do that in a class. You can't do that from sitting behind a desk. You got to pick up the damn phone. You got to call them. You got to go to Craigslist. You got to call these people, and you got to go to Zillow. Call all of these people. I don't care if you screw up every phone call. The first phone call is going to be a train wreck. The second call is going to be even, might be a bigger train wreck. And then the third call might be better. And then the fourth call will be even better than that, and so on and so forth. Before long, you will get good at talking to sellers. You will get good at asking the right questions. You will get good at all this stuff, okay? So that's really what you need. That's what you should be focused on. You should be focused on what's going to get you through. So what's going to get you through this is education, learning how to talk to the sellers, having the ability to collect what I call the 20 questions, or all the pertinent information, so you can solve their problem. You got to find out what their problem is. I want cash is not their problem. It never has been, right? Then you got to learn how to cultivate private lenders. Private lenders in this business are going to be your saving grace when it comes to funding. There will be lots of people out there with money, so understanding where to get them and how to talk to them is going to be another critical point. Now, we've done this. We have a whole program called PPG, or Property Protege Group. We spend a whole year covering all these topics, and I'll tell you a little bit about it tonight, but I'm not going to spend too much time. But if you're interested, you can go to a site called ppgcoaching.com, and we've got some pretty phenomenal pricing right now if you're interested and you want to take advantage of it. And I'll tell you more about that later. So let's see, if you have any burning questions. That was Dustin. All right, let's see, Mark. Stimulus checks delayed another 2 weeks for stimulus, which will crush low income folks that need it now. Yep, I agree with you. You do have a big mess with the PPP and the small business loans. I put a small business request in. I haven't even heard, not that I thought I was going to get it, but I put a request in 2 weeks ago. I haven't even gotten an acknowledgement that they received it. So I don't even think that they're not going to have a clue. The government, again, is probably going to waste all this money, and they're going to have to figure out where it all went, because it's not getting into the hands of the people. I can tell you that. Should we notify our lenders if we are not behind, but fear we will be? I wouldn't do that yet until you feel you're behind. And because a lot of times you can go up to 30 days, right before 30 days, and make a payment, and you won't be considered, you'll pay a late fee, but you won't consider it to be in default, okay? And they're also saying they're not going to report on your credit report anyway. So I wouldn't throw up a red flag when there doesn't need to be one just yet. But if you think for a second that, tomorrow's when it's due and I'm not making it, yes, pick up the phone, call your lender, and make sure they're aware of that. How much does it cost for the April 25th webinar? I have no idea. Dustin, if you're online, tell them how much.
I'm sitting right here too. I was going to talk about it during my presentation, but just so
Okay.
everybody knows, it's $29 for gold members, $49 for our silver members, free for PPG.
Okay.
And I'll tell them about that in just a little bit, but you can as
Okay.
well. But those are the prices.
Well, I
29.
didn't know what the prices were because I don't ever.
Yeah, if you're a non-member, it's $99.
I
But I'm
remember.
going to do a member special tonight for everybody, so we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about. Let me see. I gotta switch over here. Let's switch over to me, and I want to talk about strategies for a second and what's going to be working and what I think is going to be working. And I'm going to move around with this, so bear with me because this isn't a normal presentation, but I do want to tell you this. I do want to share with you some things that you may or may not be interested from an education standpoint, because I do really think this is going to be critical. We have a site called, let me see if I can bring that in a bit, htrei.com. If you're interested in education, and we have a lot of the education that you're going to need, well, not a lot, we have all the education you need right there. So we used to charge $19.97 for all 19 of these courses. We dropped it at Christmas time to $4.99, and I've been meaning to bring it back up to $19.97. But when this happened, I said, you know what, I'm going to leave it. So if you want to take advantage of that and you want to learn and you don't want to do the group coaching, or you don't want to go to a boatload of seminars on a Saturday, this is an option for you because they're really well done, and there's lots of information. You get everything you need. So you can get all of these courses for $4.99, as well as, let me see, we have individual courses that you can buy for $199, and those are usually $500, $600, $700 a piece. But at Christmas time, I dropped them because I always like to drop them at that time, and you can take advantage of them. I left it up there for you to take advantage of. So this isn't, if anybody knows me, you know I'm not a really hard seller on this stuff, but it's good information. It'll get you what you need if you want the education. So you can go to htrei.com. I think I have that. I can put that up there. htrei.com is the site. So, all right, let me take that down and switch over to me. And now I want to, a lot of people, let's see, let's put me down here, right over here. What we used to be like as a society in real estate is we went through a seller's market. And if you're new and that's the only market you've ever gone through, you don't know any better. So you just know that, hey, I've got a house, I can put it under contract. And really it's all about buy low, sell high, or even buy high, sell even higher, right? And so a lot of times people would just put it under contract. They don't really care. Whatever the seller wanted, whatever they wanted, they would put it under contract, and then they would, as they say, throw it up against the wall and see if it stuck. Well, I hesitate on saying that the days of that type of investing is probably not too far gone, right? It's gone. It's pretty much going to be gone. So what does that mean? That means to be a good investor in this, to be one that really could take advantage of this, you need to kind of follow these steps. And it goes about everything I just said. You need to understand, collect the right information, determine if they are a want versus a need, because people who want to sell, you are not going to convince them. So there's going to be a lot of need to sells coming up. You need to be able to discern which one is important and which one, I mean, I shouldn't say important, which one can make you money and which one can waste your time. Okay. So as long as you're collecting the right information and you're making sure you're talking to a want to sell, I mean, a need to sell versus a want to sell, then and only then can you worry about, can you make money or is there equity in this thing, right? If there's equity, then you make the appointment and then you go on about your day. But don't just look at a deal from now on and go, oh, this thing has money, I'm going to go on this appointment. Make sure you ask the right questions because you'll be chasing all over the place and it's going to frustrate you if you're new. So my suggestion is learn the right way, learn how to talk to the sellers and solve their problem. That's going to be like my new catchphrase. It's always been my catchphrase, but that's to solve the problem. Okay. 15 minutes. Got it. All right. So I'm going to jump around and let's talk about this slide right here. And this is probably where we will end. To be a problem solver in this business. Okay. So one question came in. I'm going to try to answer the questions as they come in so that I don't get behind. Should we notify our lenders? Oh, that's already been answered. Got it. Another question. You said to call people that have listed on Craigslist, and you can call people on Craigslist. You can call people from Zillow. You can call people for sale by owners, anywhere you can get their numbers. I don't care where they are. And if you don't want to do it in the city you live in for fear you're going to screw one up that you may want to buy, then call someone in Arizona. I don't care. Just get on the phone and practice talking to sellers is my point. Okay. So in order for you to be a problem solver, you first need to know what the problem is. So you ask that. So you're going to identify, and this is going to make you become what's called a transaction engineer. So if you know, now I'm not telling you, and this is what the creative deal structuring event is all about, by the way. It is going to teach you all of these strategies in theory, and so you have a great understanding of them. If you think for a second that you're going to go to this event and you're going to be a superstar and know every one of these, all 12 or 15 of these, whatever many's there, okay, and you're going to come out and you're going to be a superstar at that, you're not. Nobody can teach you that in that short period of time. That takes a long time to learn. But what you will learn and all you need to learn is what these concepts are. You need to understand what they are and how they can be used. Then once you identify, hey, I think I can take this subject too, then you can learn all the other stuff behind the scenes. Don't put the cart before the horse and feel like you got to learn everything before you can do anything. Understand what a subject to is. Understand what a subject to in a short sale is. Understand what a subject to with the modifications. That's what we're going to teach you. Understand what an agreement for deed or land contract is. Understand what a wraparound mortgage and how it works. I just did a webinar, was it last night or not a webinar? I guess it was a webinar, but it was our PPG meeting every Wednesday. I did that last night and we talked about wraparound mortgages, owner finance, sandwich lease option. These are all of the tools that you will have in your toolbox. And then we'll teach you how to take and marry these up with the selling strategies. So for example, you will ask yourself on every deal that comes in, can I take it subject to? If the answer is yes, you put a nice big check mark by there. That doesn't mean will the seller take subject to, that just means will the deal support a subject to offer? If the answer is yes, put a check mark by it. Then it's your job to convince the seller to take that offer. But a lot of times deals may not even fall under that category and you will say, no, it doesn't, it won't, there's too much owed. Well, if there's a lot owed, maybe the only thing you have is a short sale, but you won't know that till you go down through this list. So I highly recommend you take a screenshot of this list. And then what your job is to go and say, can I take it subject to, and can I sell it? Can I rent it? Can I do a lease? Can I do retail? Can I own or finance it? And then the idea behind all this is to get a few check marks and a few check marks here. Some of these will be crossed out, and then you'll be able to make multiple offers to your homeowner to solve their problem based on what that problem is. That's how you're going to solve their problems. Okay. Now, any other questions we have? If I come across the deal in the near future, however, I have not paid for the course, can we work something out so that we both don't have to lose? Of course. And let me share with you, and I'll close with this because I know I'm running, I only got 10 minutes. So I want to make sure I cover what I can help you with, because there is going to be stuff that I can help you with. We have, let me see if I can share this with you. Let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so this is our PPG, or our Property Protege site. Okay, those of you who don't know, we have a group coaching program both in Tampa and Atlanta, and it's a year-long program. It's called PPG, or Property Protege Group. Usually when I'm there in Tampa, I'll invite you on Friday nights to come listen in on our meeting, and you get to see and participate. But unfortunately, I haven't been there, so this is what you get. So you can go, if you want to learn more information, you can download the free VIP ticket. You can, there's a bunch of reviews that you can go through. Chrissy and I do this, so we teach this stuff together. But here's what you get. You get all 18 or 19 courses, plus you get all the forms. We also do everything Facebook Live. So if you can't make it, or you're not here locally or live, you can watch on Facebook Live, or you can watch later because they're recorded and saved. So everything, all the forms, everything is done kind of similar to this. We have also a weekly coaching call on Monday. Every Monday at noon, I hold you accountable, and I go down through the list and say, okay, what did you do? How many offers did you make? What kind of marketing did you do? So if you're the kind that needs held accountable, this is the program for you. Group outings, like when we come down to Florida, we'll go fishing, we'll go on the boat, we'll go do cool stuff together as a group. I give you software to help you analyze all the deals and make offers within seconds. We also do monthly seminars, like this seminar that's coming up on the 25th. That's an all-day seminar. Those are all included in the one cost of PPG. And then we have the weekly Wednesday meetings at 7 o'clock every Wednesday. And then we also do boot camps throughout the year, where we have multiple boots, sometimes bus trips, et cetera, et cetera. So with that being said, that's the people. Whoops, I wanted to go back 1 second and share with you this. So you asked me how you can participate or get some service. There is on this site at Property Protege or ppgcoaching.com, there is a button at the top called Submit Your Deal. There's two ways you can get a hold of us or get us involved. If you submit your deal right here, it doesn't go to anybody but me. So if you say, hey, Don, I need help with this, I'm not going to run out and take your deal behind you or submit it anywhere else. It only comes to me. I'm the only one that ever sees it. And then I call you on the phone, and then I say, even if you're not a PPG student or a coaching student, I still reach out to you and say, let me see if I can help. If you want, I also have consultations on this, and you can do a 30-minute consultation, absolutely free, just by sitting there and booking that. So if you click on the book, you'll see the little circles on the calendar. So if you say, okay, let me see, those are what's available on my calendar, you can book the times that are available, and it's a 30-minute phone consultation. So those are all free to you, no obligation. I don't ask for anything. You don't have to pay anything. That's kind of what that is. All right. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. I got 6 more minutes, and let me see what else I can share with you. This is the offer that I made last night. Hang on, I did not. Here's the offer I made last night. I made this last week, and I'm going to continue to make this. And this is what it's going to be. So if you are interested in the group coaching, you will get everything I mentioned, all the courses, all the live training. You get my personal cell phone number. You get the monthly seminars. You get all the paperwork. You get boot camps. You get coaching calls. You get all of that. By the way, if there's any PPG members on this webinar right now, do me a favor and tell them that if you like it or hate it. Okay. So let people know that, what your opinion is of it, because it's hard. Usually I have you raise your hand if you're in there in your PPG. We have lots of success stories. So if you have any questions, please ask them now, because we're going to be wrapping up soon. And I really want to wrap up in the next 5 minutes. That's why I'm going through this. So we normally charge $49.97 for an all year. I mean, you're spending a whole year with us. There's lots of people out there that spend $20,000, $30,000 or more for their program. You get one phone call a week if you're lucky, and a few seminars that go with that. We take it to the nth degree. And $5,000 is well worth it, but we understand that these are not the simplest of times right now. So we normally do is, if you paid in full, it's $29.97, and that's where we normally leave it. Okay. But what we're going to do, or what I've decided to do, is wipe that all clean. And in the next 24 hours, and I said this last night on the call we did last night, this was a slide I had the other day, and we've never offered it this low. And the only reason I'm offering it this low is because I want people to participate, and I don't want people to look back 5 years from now and go, oh my God, I wish I'd taken advantage of that. I don't want price. I don't want money to be the reason you don't learn how to make $1 million in this business. I don't want $5,000 to be the sticking point for you. And the other thing is, after 410, it goes back up. So you've got till tomorrow, or what is tomorrow? 410, I guess, is what I said. You've got till tomorrow to decide if you're interested in this or not. You can take advantage of it for the $19.97. If you choose to wait, it'll still be at the $29.97. It's still a great bargain. But if you still can't do the $19.97 and you have $1,000 down, we can work with you with $1,000 down. And if you have a hardship, we can even work with you on the monthly payment, kind of like the banks are doing right now. So reach out to us if this is something that's interesting to you. You can reach out to me. Let me put my number up there. This is my personal cell phone number. So if you call me, if you are interested in our webinars for PPG, like next Wednesday, we'll do one of those again. I'm putting all the sites up here just so you have them. REI, if you want to buy some courses. This is PPG coaching if you want that site. And by all means, don't forget about this. Where is it? Where'd it go? I lost it. Anyways, I was oh, there it is. The creative deal structuring on the 25th. So if that's something that you want, don't hesitate to sign up for that. And that is signed up. You can go to area.us/CDSSO. So there's a lot of mess on that screen right now, but at least you can take a screenshot of it and go to those at your leisure. So if you're interested, go to those sites, go to ppgcoaching.com, send us a message. You have my cell phone number. If you can't find it there or can't get to it somewhere, by all means, send me a text message and I'm happy to help you in any way. If you just need help, just give me a call or give me a text. I'm happy to help. So any other questions? I think I'm 7 seconds short of my allotted time. That is a record.
Yes, it
My
is.
computer
So
just said 1900.
what's that?
I said my computer just came on and said 1900 hours.
You were good. We're right on time, right on time. Well, hey, we had a good crowd here we had over 100 people at the meeting before the meeting. So I think that's a record. We've never had that many people in person. So a lot showed up for the online edition. Thank you guys, everybody, for participating. I want to thank you guys all for being here tonight. Don, you going to stick around tonight?
I'm going to go eat something first because I haven't eaten anything all day. And I thought, honestly, I thought I was on at 5.
Yeah, no.
That's why I sent that. I was like sitting here going,
No, we bumped
yes, I will
everything
come back up. I'm going to grab something to
again
eat and then I'm coming back
we're
up.
not in person. We don't have all the in-person networking. We don't have all the potty breaks we normally do. And, you know, people running back and forth to the bar and back.
Yeah,
So,
I will come back up. I'll come back up.
Yeah, just in case something comes up, or I definitely want you to hear Lee's take on the state of the market and what's going on with him and his world.
Yep.
For sure, since he's got some literally hands-on experience with the corona.
Yeah, I hope he's feeling better.
Yep. So go get something to eat and pop back in and join us.
Okay, we'll do. I'm going to mute myself and sign off. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you guys stay safe. And, you know, hopefully this is over soon. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
All right. Thanks, Don. All right. I'm switching over the screens. So welcome to Tampa REIA, everybody. Appreciate you guys all coming out and being here with us tonight online for the first time ever. I believe this is the first time we've ever broadcast Tampa REIA live. Remotely and not actually had an in-person meeting. Back in the day, we used to actually do this and broadcast it live because we're all there in person. For the people that couldn't attend, we hadn't done that in quite a while. So appreciate you guys being with us here tonight. As Don mentioned it, we usually go from 5 to 9. Well, we've shortened it by an hour because we're doing it online. And what we just went through was the meeting before the meeting with Don DeRosa. We had over 100 people on the call. I don't know if you were here for the whole time, but if you weren't, he talked about his perspective on how to navigate through the pandemic and what to expect in upcoming months. And Lee's going to talk about some similar subjects from his point of view tonight, because this is the first time we've been together since this pandemic happened. In fact, a month ago from today, it was just starting to kind of affect us. We were just starting to kind of hear about it. We were having, you know, passed around all those funny memes and stuff on Facebook, and we were all drinking Corona beers and, you know, making light of things. Well, look what a month can do. We've been in lockdown here in Atlanta for about 3 weeks. I'm not sure how long Tampa's been locked down, but probably a similar length of time. And Governor Kemp here said we're locked down till April 30th for sure. And he extended the Georgia state of emergency till I think May 13th. So we'll see how it goes. I know Trump is going to wait till the end of this month and then figure out whether we're going to start slowly opening things back up or not. That all yet to be seen. But we're all in this together, which is why I recommend you be a part of your local REIA group. You don't have to go through this alone. We've been having a lot of upcoming online meetings, and I'm going to share some of those here with you shortly, because no matter where we are, we're doing these online meetings. Even though they're in Atlanta, we're inviting you in Tampa to attend and vice versa. So we've got people from Atlanta watching Tampa REIA tonight because it's all online. And open this up tonight for members and guests, so anybody can watch. So Lee's going to be here tonight. He's going to come on around 7:15ish. He jumped on around 5:30 while we were getting ready and kind of gave us a little bit of update how he's feeling. He's going to be talking about how to recession-proof your real estate investing business. He kind of saw this coming. Don mentioned he kind of saw this coming, not the virus, but the kind of the downturn. You know, the economy is historically cyclical. We had a downturn back in 08, 2007, 2008, back in those days. And then it went back up. Then it starts to kind of slowly turn back down. Well, Bill Twyfer was here last month talking about the trends and how he started seeing the peak and then started trending downwards. So this was kind of starting to happen anyway. And this virus is really, really throwing a monkey wrench in the whole system. So what's it going to be like when this is over? We don't know. You heard some of Don's predictions. You're going to hear some of Lee's predictions. Things could get a lot worse. Unemployment, I believe, is almost 17 million this week. It was like 6 million the first week, 3 weeks ago, then another 6 million, then now it's up to almost 17 million. From historic lows to astronomically, ridiculously historical highs, all in the span of a month. That's incredible. So when this is all over with, is there going to be a big boom all of a sudden? All that pent-up angst, all that pent-up desire to get out and do stuff and shop and travel and spend? Don't know. Are everybody going to be broke coming out of this? Is that little stimulus check from the government going to help that much? Don't know. When this is over, are there going to be jobs for people to come back to, or all those small businesses and big box stores going to be out of business or bankrupt? We don't know. Hopefully this is going to be over sooner than later, but some people, especially the talking heads on TV and all the professors and stuff, say we may never be normal again. I think Dr. Fauci or somebody like that, I think it was him, saying yesterday, he had advised us never to ever shake hands again. No handshaking. Can you imagine? Does that mean no hugging? Right? That just sounds crazy talk. So who knows? Who knows? But the good news is we're in this together, and there's things we can do now to thrive and survive in this current environment. Don talked about a few of them. We're problem solvers. It's your job to go out and find what your prospective customer's problem is and solve it. Period. Solve it. So if you're here at Tampa REIA for the first time, well, you normally start at 5. Don does the meeting before the meeting from 5 to 6. And then from 6 to 6:30, we do like a networking gathering there at the hotel. I start these announcements around 6:30. Then we do haves and wants. Then we get our speaker on at 7:30. We're just speeding things up a little bit tonight. I'm doing these announcements now. If we have any vendors on the line who want to do some haves and wants here in a few minutes, I may be able to unmute their mic and let them say a few words. We'll see. But we've got some upcoming meetings I want to tell you about real quick. And these aren't Tampa REIA events. As I said a few minutes ago, I'm inviting you to our Atlanta events as well, and vice versa. So if you want to check out Tampa REIA specific events, go to tamparea.com/calendar. But many of them are canceled for the month because they were in-person meetings that are not being done online. I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But a month ago, this coming weekend, the Twyfords were in Tampa. And we had a pretty full house despite the pandemic starting. We still had a full house. But some people didn't show up because of the pandemic was started. They were nervous about it. They stayed home. If you're one of those folks who signed up for that event and stayed home, you can attend this online event we're doing this weekend. It's a one-day event instead of 2. It's going to be online from 9 to 5. It's going to be totally tailored towards the pandemic and what you should be doing during this pandemic and when we come out of it, what you should be doing right now. Don mentioned some of that. The Twyfords are going to give their opinions of what you should be doing. And a lot of it's going to revolve around being a problem solver and solving those problems that the seller's having and creating a solution for them. And a lot of it's going to be involved creative seller financing, creative buying techniques that is not all cash all the time. Cash won't always solve all their problems, especially if they owe more than the house is worth, or they have a lot of back payments and things like that and liens. So it's going to require you to get creative. That's what we're going to be talking about at this investor summit this weekend. It's very similar to the one we just had in Tampa. We had it in Chattanooga, and we had it in Atlanta. By the time it made it to Atlanta, several weeks after we made it to the Tampa event, we had over 77 people sign up for it, and like 30 showed up because we were in the pandemic. So again, if you're one of those tonight that didn't show up, go to that link on the screen, area.us/summit, and use the keyword, and it's a coupon code, repeat. If you already paid for this event and want to repeat it, put in the word repeat. You may just want to attend it again. Or if you couldn't make it the first time because it was in person, you didn't want to get the virus, use the code repeat. And we'll look you up and make sure you paid for the first time. If not, it is, I believe, $20 for members. That's Tampa REIA members, Atlanta REIA members, Chattanooga REIA members, Savannah REIA members, and it's $40 for non-members. If you're a non-member and you give me a few minutes, I'm going to tell you how to attend for free. Okay, so that's event number one, workshop coming up this weekend, so we can train you during your downtime at home. The next event is Monday. It's the Atlanta REIA event, and you're invited. We're opening the doors this month. Anyone can attend. The link is on the screen, area.us/online. And we have a gentleman named Brian Lochner. He's going to be our speaker. He is with Eddie Speed's office from Note School, one of Eddie's trainers. He's going to be talking about how to find leads, how to negotiate those leads, and how to get creative seller financing, which Don mentioned, which the Twyfords are going to mention, and Brian's going to talk about it too. We really want, as this economy is changing, and we go from a seller's market, probably go back down into a buyer's market, and or a recession, and or a depression. We don't know. Trying to be optimistic about it. But you need to learn these new creative techniques that you may not already know. I've been doing it for years, regardless of the market cycle. This past market cycle we've been in, we've been buying everything and selling everything. Buy and sell, buy, sell. Because we could buy it at a reasonable price, fix it up, and sell it at top dollar. Well, those times are starting to change a little bit. And there's going to be a lot more opportunity to buy houses creatively where they can't sell it for top dollar because the prices drop and they owe up here and the prices are down here or here. A lot of people are going to be falling behind on their payments. There's going to be a lot of short sales coming back into play again, things like that, REOs, you name it. So Brian's going to be talking about that on Monday, how to create these creative seller finance deals, but also going to tie that into the note business, how to create paper, how to create notes where you can wholesale notes just like you wholesale houses. So it's good. He did this with us, and it's up online if you want to check it out at the Chattanooga REIA group. But he's going to be speaking for Atlanta REIA on Monday. So I highly recommend you attend. Don is going to be doing the meeting before the meeting again on the exact same topic you just heard here. It'll be slightly different. But if you missed this one, you'll be able to watch it on Monday at 6 o'clock. Brian will go on right around 7:30. So check it out at area.us/online. Now, Brian's going to follow that up on Saturday, the 18th, with an all-day workshop from 9 to 4. It's called Note School Golden Notes. So he's going to talk about a lot what he talks about on Monday, but be able to go into much greater detail that he can't possibly cover in an hour and a half on Monday. So if you like what you hear on Monday, you're definitely going to want to come to this workshop. And what I told you a minute ago was that I'm going to make you an offer if you're a non-member, or if you're a member who's up for renewal soon. If you sign up as a Tampa REIA member, and I'll throw a link up on the screen here in a minute on one of my subsequent slides. If you re-up your membership for another year and or join as a new member for $100 a year, you can come to this workshop and the Twyfords workshop at no charge. Okay, 2 workshops, 2 weekends in a row, this weekend and next, at no charge, to help you jump in, learn as much as you can about how to deal with this pandemic and how to position yourself now. which is what Lee's going to be talking about in just a little bit. So the link to sign up for this is AREIA. That should be US, AREIA.us, not co. That's a typo, AREIA.us/NS. So to sign up for the Twipers, it was AREIA.us/summit. To sign up for Atlanta REIA on Monday, which is our meeting, AREIA.us/online. And then for this workshop, AREIA.us, not co/NS. And again, if you join Tampa REIA or Atlanta REIA or Savannah REIA or Chattanooga REIA for another year, you re-up your membership for another year, or join for the first time, we'll let you come to both of these at no charge. If you're a current member, you just pay the $20 per each meeting workshop and attend for $20. Very, very inexpensive. All day training from the comfort of your home. Don also mentioned one more, and this is going to be on the 25th. So we have 3 workshops, 3 weekends in a row. It's called Creative Deal Structuring. So this is where Don's going to teach you what he alluded to at the very end of his talk a few minutes ago, where he had up that chart of all the ways to buy and all the ways to sell. Well, he's going to go through those one at a time on Saturday to make you aware of all these different ways that you can structure deals. He's going to try to teach you as much as he can in a full day event. Then next month, he's going to focus on the one called Subject 2 and go into much greater detail on Subject 2, which kind of opens up the door to a lot of different creative ways to buy. But this event's going to be on Saturday the 25th from 9 to 4. He may go a little later than 4, but he wanted to put 4 because it's an all-day event and you're sitting in your chair at home or wherever you are. It's $29 for gold members, it's $49 for silver members, and it's $99 for non-members. So if you're a non-member, you can join for $100 for the whole year, come to the first 2 events I mentioned for free, and then attend this one for $49. If you have a spouse or significant other or a partner in the same corporation, they can join for an extra $50 and come to these as well. So I'll throw a slide up here in a minute of how you can join. But if you want to sign up for any of these events, I've been giving you the links. So this one is areia.us/CDSO. That stands for CDS Online, Creative Deal Structuring Online. And it's very inexpensive. So these are 3 great ways, very inexpensive, for you to start training yourself on these new techniques if you don't already know them, or to refresh yourself on these techniques if you haven't done them in a long time because you've been buying cash and fixing and flipping them. Okay, cash is easy. This creative stuff takes a little bit more brain power. This is where you become a true solution provider, learning these techniques. So you're going to be hearing a bunch about it this month. So get in, jump in, get trained. Regarding some of our Tampa REIA events, on-site's obviously canceled for April since we can't get together in person and congregate in houses right now. The Tampa Clearwater group that Jim Muir runs is canceled because it meets at a restaurant and they're not letting people in right now. They're doing carry out only. And then Beach REIA is canceled as well. I did see that Mark and a few of his closest friends did show up at the last Beach REIA. I think it's like 5 of them, and they were social distancing and taking pictures and stuff. So check with Mark if they're going to do that again this month, but no big Beach REIA for sure. And then Larry's meeting, I heard, has been closed till further notice. Not sure when that's going to open up back up again. But here's what I want to leave you with regarding these meetings. We do a lot of in-person meetings in Atlanta that you're going to be invited to because we're doing them all online. And I think all of them but one is free for members. Okay, so even though you're in Tampa, you can tune in next Tuesday, and I don't have the link for it yet. That's why I said stay tuned for these, because I don't have the links ready yet. STRONG stands for the Short-Term Rental Owners Networking Group. Obviously, he's going to be talking about short-term rentals and the future of the short-term rental business because of what's going on in the state of Florida, where a lot of them have been shut down by the governor, and the same thing in Atlanta. They've been shut down right now. Hotels are still open, campgrounds are still open, but for whatever reason, they've decided to take away some of our property rights and not allow us to share our properties, our short-term rentals, with the public for whatever reason. So I know they're fighting that in Georgia, but right now they're shut down. The Beginning Investor Group, which is big, that'll be the 3rd Monday of this month. I'm going to try to open that up to you guys as well. Glenn Glasper is one of our local investors. He's going to be our speaker this month. Flipping Gwinnett, the West Group, Marketing Madness is a relatively new marketing group we do. Hardcore Wholesaling is a brand new wholesaling group we do that's online this month. And that is the only one where there's a member door fee. It's $10 to get in. But the rest of those up on the screen are free for members. Flip Chicks, we just had it here in Atlanta. It'll be the first Friday of May. We're probably still going to be in quarantine of some sort. I doubt the restaurants are going to be open by then. We'll see. But that meets in a restaurant, and it'll probably be meeting online. And then Shark Tank, we just had it this past Monday. That'll be online again next month as well, most likely. So for those events, you'll need to check out our Atlanta REIA calendar, which is area.us/C, C for calendar. So to stay in touch of all these events that we have going on, text the word START to 813-377-3428 and get on our text alert list. That's how you get periodic text alerts from us. We also have a buyers list that you can join. Text the word buyer to 813-377-3428. If you want to hit this list, it's only about $25. If you want to hit our list with your property, just let me know. I can help you out. And the people on the buyers list tend to be in the Tampa Bay area. We also have several Facebook groups where you can find plenty of deals and or buyers right now, 24/7. One is the Florida Real Estate Investors Network, and these are Facebook groups. And the other is the Wholesale Real Estate Tampa Bay group that Mark started years ago. We're up to over 10,500 in the Florida group, and I think almost 5,000 people in the Tampa Bay group. Now, these next two groups here on the screen right now are just for wholesale properties, pitching them or finding them. Okay, you can pitch your deals or find deals on these two Facebook groups. So before I wrap it up, I want to tell you real quick about membership. It's $100 a year for all of our REIA groups. Right now, this is Tampa REIA, so it's $100 a year for silver membership. You can join at trea.us/silver, and you can add a spouse for $50. You might have to call Chrissy to add that spouse for $50. I'm not sure if it's at that link. I don't think it is. You can become a gold member for $300 a year. That's good for 2 people. And you get bigger discounts on some of the events we do. And then you can join as a gold business member as well at trea.us/goldbiz. So again, if you join today or renew your membership, you can come to those 2 workshops I told you about. One this weekend with the Twyfords, one the following weekend with Note School. And then as a new member, you can attend Don's if you wish for, I believe it's $49. Okay. So for $150, you get a year membership and 3 good events that are totally relevant to what we're going through right now. So when you sign up as a new member or an existing member and you renew, there's a comment box when you go to checkout. Put in there that you want to attend these 2 events for free. Chrissy will get you send you the links to get signed up and the coupon code to get into those events for free. And if you have trouble with that, just text her or call her at 330-607-6839. That's 330-607-6839. You can also find the Tampa REIA phone number on the tampareia.com website under the About Us, Contact Us tab. So hope you'll take advantage of that membership special. So what I want to do right now is get out of this screen and check out the participant box and see if we have any vendors on the line that want to say a few words. I see Hot Rod's on. So if you're a vendor and want to say a few words real quick, raise your hand. Raise your hand so I can see you. If not, Lee's on standby and ready to go. Because normally we have New Western, Net Worth, Hot Rod likes to talk about his mail service, Tangy Cousins from Foreclosures Daily. I don't see Tangi on the line, and I don't see any hands going up. Okay, so if we have any of our members on the line real quick who'd like to say a quick word about a deal they have or something, just raise your hand. This is the first time we've ever tried to do this. We'll see if it works. But just raise your hand so I can call on you. I saw Trina Knox's hand go up. Trina, if you put your hand up on purpose and it wasn't just some kind of mistake, say so in the chat box real quick. Okay, it looks like her hand went down. Yep, she said it was a mistake. Okay, just checking. So no hands went up. So Lee, are you on standby? I saw you pop in earlier.
Yes, I am.
Very good. Okay, I thought you were. So if you want to, since we don't have any vendors that want to say anything tonight, we can start a few minutes early at 7:25, so we're not that early. But you can turn on your camera and come online. And let me stop my screen share. All right, and let me do one more thing in the video settings. All right. And Don, I was just curious, are you still on standby, Don? I know he was going to go on a little dinner break.
Don left you hanging.
No, he was going to go into dinner and be here because he wanted to watch you and hear what you had to say tonight. Good. Okay, I just killed his little video because it was making the screen look kind of strange. So if you just joined us at home, folks, welcome. Thank you for being here. And by the way, real quick, before we get started, Lee, I want to see if it'll let me share this up on Facebook. I don't actually see, here it is. Let me see if this will let me throw this up on Facebook real quick before we get started. Give me 1 second, it usually takes about 60 seconds.
Sure.
And then I'll introduce you and turn you loose. And folks at home, thank you for your patience. I just like to throw this up on Facebook so that folks at home that don't know about this webinar maybe have a chance to hear us and see what Lee has to say tonight. All right. So I'm gonna throw this up on our Tampa REIA page. I don't know, something happened. It's not gonna, I'll have to do it after you start talking.
Sure, that's fine. No problem.
So really glad to have Lee here tonight. For those of you that don't know Lee, he's been doing this since 2000. He's been investing in real estate at least since 2004. Because on your bio it says that you've done over $500 million in real estate transactions since 2004. But also his bio mentions the fact that he made his first million and then lost his first million back during the last downturn. And since then, he's been a student of the trends, student of the market, learning what these trends are, learning when they're coming and learning what to do about it so that the next time it happens, he can survive and thrive in that new environment. So here we are all these years since the last downturn, and here we go again, right? A lot of us might have saw that trend, starting to trend downward, see it coming, but not this. I don't think any of us saw this virus that was going to hit us like it did. It kind of came out of nowhere. It kind of came out of nowhere and hit us all of a sudden real hard. I was telling folks earlier, Lee, that we had recent historical low unemployment, and then in a matter of 3 weeks, went from historical low unemployment to almost 17 million people, this week, suddenly unemployed. So I kind of opened up tonight talking about, What's it going to be like when we come out of this? Is everything going to go gangbusters again? Are people suddenly going to have jobs again? Are they not going to have jobs because the businesses that they work for are now out of business or have downsized, or who knows? So we're looking forward to hearing, kind of your predictions for what's coming. But also, I don't know if a lot of you know, Lee has been in the hospital for several weeks and just got out last week. Not only did he have pneumonia, but he also had COVID-19. So he's got very personal connection to this topic tonight. And he's a survivor, thank God. And just so you know, he's not feeling that well tonight. So we're very blessed and very lucky to have him here with us tonight. He may have to cut and run earlier than expected and run to the hospital, but he's at least looks pretty good. You're looking pretty good. I know you feel like crap, but you at least look good.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I was committed to you guys. I didn't want to same day cancel, and just I appreciate the intro there, Dustin. That was very, very nice of you. And it's not a pity party, but it was definitely not a good experience.
Yeah, because you said it's affected you personally, it's affected your business, it's affected your whole lifestyle.
Yep.
And I know you're in quarantine now. I don't know if your family's around you or can't be near you right now.
Nope,
I don't know if you're hanging out alone by yourself.
Yeah, I've been alone for almost 3 weeks.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought. But he just told me before the call tonight, he's come down with bronchitis and may have to go back to the hospital tonight and get on some more drugs. So it's kind of touch and go. And like I said, we're really thankful because I've been talking to you for about the past 3 or 4 weeks saying,
I know.
Sure do this? You sure
I know. And then I
No
literally told someone that earlier, and I was like 2 days ago, I was feeling amazing. I said, sure, I'm going to show up. And then I woke up this morning. I was like, I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
But no, I like this topic though. And it's important for me to get this word out there, even on the coronavirus stuff. People, so much misinformation out there. And I can come from a place of personal experience. So I'd like to be able to educate people on that before we even get into real estate and just show you what's working in our business, because we've had to pivot on a dime. I run 3 different businesses in 3 different industries, which people don't realize. So I'm going to get into all that tonight.
Good, because I don't know your complete background. I got introduced to you very recently through Tangi, cousin, who we were talking about earlier. And I was hoping she'd be on the line tonight. I called on her a few minutes ago and didn't see her pop up, but she's how we met. So again, I really, really appreciate you being here tonight and soldiering through this and educating us on what you know about the virus and your predictions for the future and what to do about it now.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
that's all what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a data guy. I've been trained by data people, been mentored by data people. So I just try to look at facts and figures, whether it's COVID-19 or real estate, and just try to apply logic instead of guessing.
Yep. So I'm going to turn off my video and mute my mic and let you take it away. So thanks again for being here, Lee. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to say a few nice words for Lee in the chat interface, please do. If you have questions for Lee, put them in the Q&A box because he is going to take some questions a little bit later. So thank you for being here, Lee. Don, go ahead and mute your mic and turn off your video. We're going to turn it over to Lee. Thank you,
Awesome.
Lee.
You're very welcome. Yeah, so thank you, Dustin, for the kind introduction. And logistically, as far as the questions go, Dustin, if you can help me, sometimes it's hard for me to answer the question and focus on, looking for the questions. If you can help me bat up those most important questions at the end of my teaching here tonight, that would be very, very
That's
helpful.
exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take them as they develop and, prioritize them. And whenever you're ready, just let me know. I'll come back on and I'll pass those questions on to you so you don't have to worry about it.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to be here tonight, even though I'm not feeling 100%. So let's go back a couple weeks ago, March 20th, I flew to Cleveland, Ohio. March 21st, I had a fever. I was coming back and had a fever, had what felt like pneumonia, and I had a cough that was starting to develop. So I went to the ER on March 21st. I was not sick enough, and they turned me away. Fast forward to March 25th. I went into the ER with almost 104-degree fever and pneumonia, and they admitted me. So I spent in hospital from March 25th to March 30th. By March 27th, I was officially diagnosed with COVID-19 and pneumonia. And for about a day and a half, I was fighting to breathe, like really, really bad. I was the stage before the ventilator. And for those who've been reading about COVID-19, your chances are not great if they put you on a ventilator, because that means you're having serious, serious problems breathing. So the virus is like nothing I've experienced before. I've had the flu before, had pneumonia before, had bronchitis before, and my compromised immune system, it was very, very naive of me to travel. I just went straight right into COVID, and something at the airport, either Orlando Airport or Cleveland Airport, I believe is where I picked it up. So definitely been a tough week, couple of weeks. I was discharged on March 30th, had a really rough week last week, was starting to feel better this week, and then I got bronchitis. So I met with my virtual doctor, Teledoc. There's lots of apps now. Baycare has them. Blue Cross Blue Shield uses Teledoc, and he diagnosed me with bronchitis. But within the hour, and this is the cool part about all this virtual stuff, had my prescription called in, had one of my friends pick it up, bring it to my building. So thank goodness I'm already on the right meds. But wanted to clear up a couple things on this. First of all, whether this is not meant to be politically driven. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. And this, what I've noticed though, is that hydroxychloroquine has turned into a political pawn, and conversely, people's lives have turned into a pawn. And that to me is really, really sad. That is the drug that turned around my situation from going downhill, more oxygen, to actually making me well in about a day and a half. So I would be happy to answer any questions. It's not hard to find me at Real Lee Kearney, IG. You can Google me, probably find my phone number in 2 seconds. But I've been answering a lot of questions because you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth as far as what works and what doesn't work. And hydroxychloroquine, Z-Pak, in my case, they only had Levaquin. They did not have zithromycin. They were running low on that. And zinc seems to be the magic combo. But out of the three, hydroxychloroquine is the one that turned my personal situation around. So I feel very blessed to be here tonight. It's definitely changed my outlook. And like Dustin said, it's affected every area of my life. Every area of my life has been affected with this. And so I'm just a lot more grateful, really take a lot more time to say thank you to people and talk to people, even without a purpose. The email can wait. The deal can wait. It's really changed my perspective on things. And I want to make sure that I slow down a little bit and focus more so on my health. And it's been a rough few months. This is actually my 4th round of bronchitis since January 1st. So definitely a wake-up call for me. And like Dustin said, those who've been in real estate investing for a while have noticed that something was coming, because we could see that we were peaking at the end of this market cycle. COVID-19 just ended up being the catalyst. So I'm fully convinced, and if you look back at my teaching last couple of years, I've been predicting that we are coming to the end of the cycle. And it's not because I'm guessing or I've got a crystal ball. It's obvious. The data is showing us that affordability is down, prices are up, and you look at cap rates on rentals. I mean, people are competing in the Tampa Bay area right now at 4 and 5 caps. Just to give you some perspective, my first rentals were at 15 and 20 caps back in 2009, 2010, when you could pick up houses that previously had sold in 05, 6, and 7 for 150, 180,000 for 20 grand and 30,000. So I've seen prices go up. I've seen them come down. I'm a student of history. I'm a student of numbers and data, and legacy wealth. We're talking about life-changing wealth happens in market cycles, just like we're in. Just this point in time that we're experiencing is where the money is going to leave a lot of people and go into the hands of few people, and few people are going to get very, very wealthy from this. And you've got to really ask yourself that question: what side of the trade do you want to be on? Do you want the money to come to you, or do you want the money to leave you? And this is a time to pivot quickly, look at what's going on in the market, make some changes to stabilize your business today, but then also look forward and position yourself to be able to capture the opportunity tomorrow. So anyway, I'm going to pull up my screen, just make sure that's working just fine. Of course, I'm going to have to move this off, looks like. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, go ahead. Because sometimes the toolbar will kind of hide itself.
That's what's happening. So bear with me 1 second.
Yeah, you're going to have to drag it off so you can see it again.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Come on, Zoom. All right. Does that look like the right presentation there?
Yep.
Awesome.
Recession-proof your business. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, let me move that back into place here. So move that into presentation mode. So tonight I'm going to be talking about state of the market. I really want to talk about what's going on, what has happened, what we're doing, what you should do, and why you should do it. And that's really what I wanted to jump right into. So if you'll give me about 45 minutes, I'm going to present this. I'm going to show you how I can help you in your business at the very end. I'm just looking forward to rapid firing through this so we can get some tangible things that you can use in your business.
Yep.
So
I just want to give you a heads up. All I see right now is Zillow, your Zillow browser.
what's that?
Right now I'm seeing Zillow. When you drug it off the screen,
Okay.
you drug it off the screen. So right now we're seeing the Zillow webpage.
Okay, let me try to correct that. Sorry about this.
No problem. You must have more than one monitor going too, huh?
I've got 6.
Yeah, I've got 3.
Yeah, I've got 6.
So you've got to make sure when you go to share, hit the share button, that you're sharing the correct monitor.
Yep, got it. I'm just fixing that right now.
So that one's correct. There you
Awesome.
go. You're good.
Well, at least it was Zillow and not something crazy. So that was a win.
Yeah, what your adult film collection?
I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, a little bit about me. Dustin went over this. Founder of Spin Companies. That's the real estate arm of my business. Been a real estate investor since 2004. Buying in multiple markets. We actually buy nationwide. Over 7,500 transactions. Over $500 million in real estate. One of the largest buyers in the country. At one point, we've definitely slowed down now as I've moved into 2 other industries. I'm also the CEO of Real Advisors. That's realadvisors.com. And I am an owner in 2 licenses in Oklahoma in the medical marijuana, the cannabis industry. So we hold 2 different licenses, 2 different brands. So I got fighter brands out there in Oklahoma. Super excited about that space. And real estate has allowed me all these opportunities though. And this is why I always have loved real estate and I always will love real estate. It's a great way to generate income. It's a great place to park your money if you buy rentals at the right point in the market cycle. I saw on average a 200 to 250% increase in my rental portfolio during our hold period. And this is why understanding market cycles is so important. So if you're on the side of the trade where you're building a rental portfolio at the peak of the market, you're going to experience the complete opposite of that. That's why understanding the market, understanding the opportunity, and positioning yourself correctly is so important in real estate. And I've had mentors from deca millionaires to, I don't know what you call someone with hundreds of millions, but smart people in my corner that have been coaching me on what to do and what not to do. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the rise and fall. 2004, actually 2003, I bought a property by mistake. 2004 is when I started buying them after I made money on the property that I bought by mistake. Started buying a couple flips in California, moved back to Florida, made every mistake under the sun, trying to remotely rehab, still scrambled through, made some profit. Then I started buying foreclosures in 2005, 6, and 7. And I was a dummy rehabbing houses in 2007 and 8. So by 2008, I'd officially made and lost almost a couple $1 million. It just sucked. I watched the money go right through my hands. And that was a tough pill to swallow because I'd made life-changing money and blew it. And I remember meeting with one of my mentors and saying, hey, Bumper, like what did I do wrong here? And he goes, well, you screwed up, but what you can do now is you can either do nothing and fail or you can sell your way out of it. So I repositioned myself quickly. So when people talk about it being unprecedented times, it's actually not unprecedented. Yeah, COVID is unprecedented, but what we're experiencing with the sudden market change has happened over and over again, just for different reasons. This black swan event happened to be COVID-19. Before there was a mortgage meltdown, which, there's movies about this. There's lots of data you can research on this, but essentially the same thing happened about 12 years ago. So the key is, do you dwell on what you were as a business or do you focus on what you're going to be? And I really want to encourage all of you to focus on what you will be and move quickly towards what you will be rather than focusing on what you were. Even on the education side of the business and Real Advisors, we were an events company. Now we're a digital marketing company overnight. There is no more events. Events are gone. So we've had to reinvent ourselves literally overnight. And for those who are real estate investors or agents or in the real estate industry at all, maybe you're mortgaging, you've got to reinvent yourself and chase. Sorry, I had something cut into my audio. Dustin, can you hear me there?
You buzzed out there for a second, but you're back.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there was a Bluetooth problem there. So it's important. It's really, really important to understand market cycles. I can't stress that enough, because if you ignore market cycles, you could find yourself like me, rehabbing houses and losing money. And that was painful, bringing money to closing on every single closing almost in 2007. So the basic equation we're talking about tonight, it's not rocket science. It's generating more revenue and having less expenses. And that delta, the more revenue you create and the more you lower your expenses, that's what's going to create a profit. And the good news is there is low hanging fruit, like lowering your expenses. That's something you can do today and feel the benefit of it today. Revenue, you can put new ideas in place, but even with a wholesale model, the revenue cycle on that is going to be weeks. The good news is it's weeks and not months. Unlike a rehab, rent, and refi, those are more multi-month revenue cycles rather than multi-week revenue cycles. Strategic planning, this is key. It always has been key. This hasn't changed. This isn't something new. This is something you should have been doing in your business. And if you're not, you need to start doing it immediately. Generate revenue. You got to be highly focused. What I'm focused on today is different than what I was focused on just a month ago. We used to look at our business in months and quarters. Now we look at it in weeks. We've had to shorten that view. Liquidity is key in real estate. If you have no liquidity, you have no options. You're out of bullets. So don't be out of bullets. Figure out how to get liquidity and get it quick. You may need to liquidate some assets right now if you need cash. But without cash, you can't operate, and there is no point strategic planning for the future because you have no business. Example, you got flipped houses that are ready to go. Lower the price. Get rid of them. You need multiple sources of lending. There's no point having deals if you have no money. And private money lending has come back front and center as the premier source of money. Institutional lenders, the fix and flip lenders, all the hedge funds that produce the lending arm in their business, they've all ran for the hills because they were highly dependent upon the capital markets. Capital markets are destroyed, their money source is destroyed, and their answer, and I've seen it before, we just stopped lending. Sorry, as of today, we've stopped lending. 2 weeks ago, I had a lender, the day of closing, $450,000 refi, just said, no, we're not doing refis anymore. And the survey was done, the appraisal was done, the HUD was done, and as they're sending the HUD, they're also sending me a cancellation, the refi. So I've experienced these things, and the key is not to dwell on what's going wrong, to figure out how you're going to reinvent your business immediately. And let me go back real quick on this topic. You want multiple sources of everything, multiple sources of properties, multiple exits. Multiple exits can be achieved by having equity. The less equity you get, the less options you got. You want multiple sources of everything. That way you have stability in your business and you don't have a business that has a huge risk component to it. Just real quick here on loans, just to give you a quick overview on loans. This is the EIDL loan. We've applied for this. You should too. Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. This is probably the easiest one if you have employees. It's going to have the shortest cycle from what we understand. And we expect to get those funds in the next week or two. That's maybe a bullish expectation. That was a almost $200,000 loan that we're getting in on that. And there's lots of good things about PPP. So definitely research this. If you haven't applied for it, you should. The SBA Express Bridge Loan, you can access up to 25 grand right away. Again, if you haven't applied for that, you should. These are all loans available to you. Why wouldn't you do this? This is going to be the cheapest money, and it's going to get you through this crisis if you've had a slowdown in revenue. SBA debt relief, again, another loan. So if we go back over these real quick, EIDL, Paycheck Protection Program, SBA Express Bridge Loan, SBA debt relief, all great programs. My personal opinion is if you have employees, the quickest kill as far as getting money in quickly appears to be the Paycheck Protection Program. Also with the SBA, they got a box where you can check it and get 10 grand. We expect that to come in next week. Again, I may be bullish in what I'm expecting, but make sure that you apply for these. If you have a business, you have employees, you want to go back to EIDL, Paycheck Protection Program, SBA Express Bridge Loan, SBA debt relief. Do it. If you haven't done it, I'm assuming most people have, but if you haven't, you should get on that right away. And just to give you some perspective on this, a good friend and mentor of mine, had applied for $40 million in assistance. He owns some very large companies. So at all areas of, as you climb up the ladder, there's people applying for these loans. This is key. You got to eliminate unnecessary expense immediately. This is the lowest hanging fruit. If you've got a business that's top heavy with expenses, there's no point making a bunch of revenue if you have a bunch of expenses. You need to cut expenses. We've done this in every business I'm involved in. Some of it's been quite painful, but you got to eliminate the fat. Bear with me one second. Labor, unfortunately, is top of the pile here because admin, non-revenue producing jobs, they're the ones that are really front and center on this. Make sure with the payroll protection loan that you're not falling outside of those terms, and so make sure to study that carefully. There is some rules and regs with that. Specialists wear more hats. And this is where, as your business contracts, in the expansion phase, you have people wearing lots of hats and they become specialists. As you contract your team, the specialists in your team will end up having to wear more hats because you're dividing the eliminated positions amongst the remaining employees. So just make sure that you are getting ahead of this with your team. I'm making sure to have virtual meetings with my team. You should be too, and understand that people have lots of questions and concerns. They need to be led. So lead your team, lead those people around you. You don't have to BS people and tell everything's fine and there's nothing wrong. There's lots of problems. The key is how you deal with those problems, but communication is the key to make sure that you get your message out there. This is not a time to hire unnecessary people. In fact, we had to let go of 2 people and we replaced 1. The good news is, with the over 6 million people that applied for that filed for unemployment last week, I believe it was, the labor market is full of talent. So you can replace your B and C players with A+ players. This is a great time to do it. You got to really take note of this, including yourself. Every person's got to have value. You may have to take on multiple things, and this is a mindset shift. The idea, it's not my job, is an old mindset. The new mindset is, how can we make this work? What can I do to help? What can I do to provide value in this situation? These are not fun sayings, they're necessities right now. You know, we talked about this. I let go of a processor, an admin, replaced my executive assistant. That all happened in the last 2 weeks. Like we're doing exactly what I'm telling you should be doing in your business. Let's talk about the office. You may need to reduce your office space. You can rent out additional office space. That's a way to bring in income and turn a liability into an asset. And a little plug here, we're renting out, I think, about 600-700 square feet of my office. And so if you're looking to move to Seminole Heights, we have office space for you. Let's talk about unnecessary subscriptions. So all of us, if you review your credit cards, you got all these things you don't need. You know, if you reduce those subscriptions, reduce those expenses. Just got to generally cut out things you don't need. Maybe old email accounts, stuff like that. Google charges you. We just did a Google audit between my 3 companies, and we eliminated about 10 grand. Now that may not be exciting. You do 10 things that eliminate 10 grand, that's 100 grand back on your bottom line. Sharpen your acquisitions team. Right now, we got to be laser focused on the right kind of sellers, the right kind of sources of properties, and not just be chasing every deal. If you're a wholesaler, focus on what your buyers want. Talk to your buyers, find out who's buying, find out what they want. Go find the newest buyers, that I call them the post-COVID buyers. Find out who's still closing on properties and making sure that you're servicing your customer, where you figure out the demand, you figure out what, the where, and the pricing, and then you back into just getting that supply of properties. This is a great time to tighten up systems and processes. The good news is a situation like this forces efficiency, because if you do not get efficient, you'll get left behind. So it's a great time. You just have to pivot quick and make sure that you are immediately tightening up systems and processes. Clean up your bookkeeping. Make sure that you know your numbers, know your profit, know your expenses, know your net margins, making sure that you're actually making money, making sure that you're managing cash flow, understand your expenses so that you can plan ahead. Make sure you wholesale enough houses where you've got an excess to cover your overhead and build up reserves if you don't already have them. Virtual investing, I mean, this self-education. So one of the things that we're teaching right now to investors, how do you change your model to a virtual model immediately? And that's something we'll be going over in my war room with people, how to shift their businesses from being bricks and mortar to virtual businesses immediately. So let's talk about the 3 main tasks as an owner. So before COVID, I would focus on three things: today's revenue, strategic direction, which is tomorrow's revenue, major problem solving. Now I've shelved that for a minute. And right now, today, I'm focused that we have insurance, that we have funding. So I want to make sure we got money, and I'm micromanaging that lending process. I want to make sure we got deals. So we have money and we have the deals, and we have the money to support the deals and the deals to support the money. So acquisition funding is key right now. There's lots of lenders still that will lend on a stabilized asset, whether it's rented or fully fixed up. If it's pretty, they'll lend on it. It's got a tenant and clear income that's easily understandable. They may be lowering the amount they're lending, but there still is plenty of lenders. And we want to follow up specifically on the loans getting processed. I've got a daily update on those 4 loans to make sure that we're micromanaging the process to bring in that cash flow. Strategic direction is halted right now. We're looking ahead at some opportunities 3, 6, and 9 months from now. But for the next 2 weeks, I'm highly focused on these 3 things, and you should be too. So let's talk about what strategies to implement. This is really, really key. You want to focus on wholesaling. If you're an investor, you're not focused on wholesaling, you're going to get left behind, because wholesaling is the shortest revenue cycle with the least amount of risk. It's not something I made up. It's just a fact. It works in any market cycle. You got wholesaling, you got co-wholesaling, and you got micro-wholesaling. Micro-wholesale, you can just sit right in the middle. You don't have to have any deals. You don't have to have any buyers. You connect people with deals with people with buyers, and you can collect a fee. Again, consult with the attorney, make sure you are creating an equitable interest, doing it legally and ethically. But you don't even have to have inventory or buyers to wholesale. You can just focus on acquisitions and have someone else dispo. You can handle the whole thing all the way from acquisitions through dispo. But just make sure that you integrate wholesaling, because if you have a bunch of rehabs with long revenue cycles, you could end up going broke trying to make money, even if you've got profitable deals. Profitable deals 3-6 months from now don't pay for your overhead today. So make sure that you have and identify how to create a wholesale arm in your investing business immediately. And when you think about it logically, wholesaling is just transferring the risk to the buyer. Because if you sell before you buy, or you own the thing for days or weeks versus months, you're essentially transferring the market risk to the buyer. When you buy properties with owner financing, you're transferring the risk to the seller. So that's where those kind of creative strategies are starting to kick in, because the markets change. You want to eliminate risk at both sides. If you can give it to the seller, give it to the seller. If you can give it to the buyer, give it to the buyer. This is not a time to be taking on high risk strategies, big development projects, things like that. What's nice about wholesaling, just like day traders on the stock market, you get a sense of what the asset's trading for today. And if you get a great deal and you can't wholesale it, you paid too much. Our goal is always to buy below wholesale, which means 1, we can wholesale it, 2, we can rehab it, or 3, if you're buying it below wholesale, typically you're able to refi out of it with a rent and refi strategy where you can get all of your money back out and still cash flow too. So equity is key. Always buy, I don't even say at wholesale, buy below wholesale. Option contracts, these are things that are just like short sales. Over the next 3, 6, 9 months, these are going to become more attractive. There's multiple ways to use option contracts. You can create an option, create a contract where you can even rehab the house, and you don't have to close on it until it's rehabbed. You've transferred, I apologize. I knew I may have some issues tonight speaking with coughing, so that's why I'm trying to get through stuff so that I don't bomb. But always be thinking about risk. Risk is just as important as making money, which is just as important for me at this point in my career as brain damage. So I try to avoid risk, I try to avoid brain damage, and I try to make money. I want all 3, and you should too. And if you always buy right, you'll have options. I cannot stress this enough. Buying below wholesale gives you all of the options. Buying at wholesale does give you some options, but buying below wholesale gives you every option available in real estate because you have a significant amount of equity. Rehabbing. Stay away from houses in war zones. Why? You limit your exits. You don't have a good solid rent and refi exit even because the values aren't there. You don't have a future appreciation. There's lots of things you don't have in war zones. And for me, the show's over in a war zone right now because values are going to tumble pretty quickly, in my opinion, because once that's typically the investors who have no attachment to the property. You don't have a lot of homeowners, which means if the numbers don't work, people just walk away from those properties. Don't half fix houses if you're rehabbing, because that means you got to rehab them if you want to sell them to a finance buyer. Fix them correctly, fix the stuff that's going to pass a 4-point inspection. Now you have options with your property. So whether we're rehabbing a rental or a flip, the only difference is the finishes. Everything else is the same, and it should be for you too. No major construction right now. There's a lot of municipalities where you can't even pull a permit. And we've got properties we've owned for 6 months plus where we can't even get a permit because the county's closed down. So this is a real problem. So eliminate your market risk. You've got all sorts of risks as soon as you own something. The key is to mitigate those risks. Buy and hold. You got to always be looking for capital. Buying cash flowing assets. Make sure that if your exit where you have to refi and rent it, it's going to be a cash flowing exit. That increases your options and lowers your risk. Pursuing seller finance deals and options. Again, you're transferring the risk to the seller. Do deals virtually. This is a key component of our business. Everything I do in my business now is virtual, and I want to be able to teach you how to do the same thing in your business. You know, I've got, just to give you a quick summary on that, my data comes out of India. It gets processed in Hawaii. It goes back to my opening sequence in the Philippines, then goes back to domestic closer in Florida. I've got closers in Florida, and then it goes to what used to be at my Tampa office to now my processing team, which is also virtual. And so, yeah, the whole business is virtual. We've had to adapt over the last 2 weeks, just learn how to run a virtual business. Be very conservative with your comps. This is a great way to build in the margin of error. You want to get really micro level and granular, right down to the subdivision, and understand, is that subdivision going up? Is it going down, or is it flat? Bear with me 1 second here. All right, so don't force deals to work. You want to be really key. If you force a deal to work, you're not building in that margin of error. Build in market risk. The longer you hold something, the bigger the risk right now. And by increasing your rehab budget and lowering the comps by choosing the lowest comp and even discounting that by 10% and picking your highest rehab estimate, you've got a built-in margin of error. Don't be chasing deals right now. Closing on deals, as I said, presents a lot of risks. Even with wholesaling, the risk of ownership has now skyrocketed, and market risk needs to be considered. Even if you close on something today and your exit is to sell it in its current condition, or even a wholesale where you clean up a little bit. Understand the difference between a pure wholesale deal, which is where you sell before you buy, and a wholesale deal where you close on it, because you've got to consider the market risk between closing and owning anything right now. Let me give you a strategy here. Change your buy box. Just because you bought a 3-2 in these 4 zip codes before, don't let great deals pass you by. By opening up your buy box and considering other deals, we're seeing tremendous deals all over the country where we're buying stuff at 20 cents on the dollar instead of the normal 40 to 60 cents on the dollar. And we did that because we chase deals, not buy boxes. So if it's a deal and the pricing works, if it's an asset we're not familiar, we just want a huge discount, and you should too. You can make a lot of money by buying your non-traditional properties by just chasing distressed sellers at distressed pricing. And that's where you can really add additional revenue right now by taking off those blinders. And we target more distressed sellers and more equity. That's the simple equation. We'll buy nationwide, 20 to 30 cents on the dollar. We also focus on mispriced assets because we don't have a buy box. If the pricing's right, we buy it. So yeah, if I would normally buy something at 50, 60 cents, and I don't quite understand it, I just take the lowest wholesale comp, undercut it by 20%, then build in a fat profit margin. If the seller accepts that price, great. I mean, we just closed on an asset tomorrow. Actually, we're closing tomorrow in North Carolina. It's 2,700 square foot block house in good condition for $27,000. The lowest wholesale comp I can find is about 70, 80,000 for something similar. Great. We'll double our money, move on. We'll be in and out of that asset in weeks. There's a huge margin of error there. The pricing worked. It's not our traditional kind of purchase, but I couldn't ignore it because the pricing was so good. New revenue, more creative buying, options, seller financing, subject to deals. Now, again, you want to make sure you understand the rules and regs on this and don't get caught doing something that violates a law. But absolutely, you want to be creative. Take off the blinders about what you used to do. Focus on what works now, chase the opportunity today, and figure out how to capitalize on it. Marketing, you want to ramp up low-cost marketing strategies. JV deal is a great way to do this. We talked about this, co-wholesaling, micro-wholesaling, where you just sit in the middle between a person with deals and a person with buyers. Hone in the current market and really put marketing dollars into guaranteed predictable deals. If you know what your buyers are still buying today, so you find out who's buying, you find out what they're buying, where they're buying, what price they're buying at, direct your marketing dollars towards a guaranteed sale. Don't be throwing mud against the wall with your marketing, because you can really lower your marketing costs and increase revenue. So if you find that your deals are coming from 20% of your marketing and you double that 20%, you can lower your marketing by 60% and then increase your revenue twofold. So there's a huge opportunity as we talk about finding efficiencies, because you can reverse engineer your deals, reverse engineer the source, the list, the type of seller, and you can find lots of trends and just focus on that 80% of what does work, instead of just trying to throw mud against the wall and spend more money on marketing because you think it's going to make you more money. Spend your marketing dollars wisely. Massive follow-up. This is key. The seller who said no yesterday is saying yes today. We've seen that shift just even over the last 2 weeks. The phone wasn't ringing, or we weren't getting calls back 2-3 weeks ago. Now we're getting those sellers on the phone. People are running out of money. The unemployment has affected everyone. People who make poor choices in real estate are going to be a high percentage of the people that have lost jobs and are that kind of lifestyle that's led to just bad choices, foreclosure, tax deed sales, all sorts of just issues in their life, and they're going to have a need for cash. So your offer of cash and giving them money today is going to become really, really attractive. And we're finding that on almost daily basis, the seller motivation is changing. Dispo strategies. There's still people transacting. There's still people selling, still people buying. Figure out who these people are. Public records, the MLS. The MLS will give you MLS transactions, but public records like the property appraiser will give you all transactions. Your current clients, stay in communication with your buyers and sellers. Make sure you understand what's going on in the marketplace. Always chase investor demand, especially with the wholesale model, because that's your customer. Find out what your customer wants and then go get the product. Are they buying? The first question, because if they're not buying, you don't even need to get these other questions. What are they buying? Where? What price are they buying today? You want to talk about these post-COVID buyers. That's what I call them. New cash buyers, talk to the MLS, and the new COVID buyers march forward. And actually, it's really probably March 15th forward. Tax assessor and or the property appraiser will give you the full list. It's a little bit harder to delineate, though, between a cash buyer and a non-cash buyer. So what I would recommend, you filter out owner occupants, associations, banks, focus on known owner occupied individuals and companies. And typically it's going to be companies that are your true investors, because big investors don't usually put properties in their personal name. And the cash buyers and investor, like I said, they're going to be typically buying in a company name. And I would be pulling that list on a weekly basis. We're not doing this monthly or quarterly. We're doing it on a weekly basis because we want to be very reactive to the market. You should be too. So my question for you, do you have a game plan? Because I understand I ripped through this material because I wanted to make sure I didn't lose my voice. But the good news is in the war room, I'm doing a 2-day war room, which I'll talk about in just a moment. We get to dissect your business and spend hours instead of minutes on that and really understand what is your issue, what's your game plan, how are you going to execute? And that's really the key when you talk about a game plan. It's the where, the how, and the who. That's where you got to really outline those three things. And that's how you put meat on the bone and how you actually turn an idea into actual execution. Goals are great, but goals without consistent habits and executing on things on a daily basis and doing the right things consistently are useless, because you just have a far off goal that you'll never achieve because you're not doing the things on a daily basis that will get you towards your goal. And I'm a big believer in that. If you want some reading material, really easy read, you can listen to it on Audible, Atomic Habits, really fantastic read. And it just simplifies that point and talks about creating a series of good habits, adding to those habits, getting 1% better every day, and the explosive growth that can happen in your personal life and business by just focusing on that incremental growth each and every day. So again, my question for you is, do you have a game plan? Are you just flying blind, or do you have a strategy of what you're going to do in today's market? These are hard questions. We've had to ask ourselves this question. I'm innovating every day. I spend about 2 hours a day just on innovation in my business, and you should be too. So let's talk about what's next. The marketplace is changing every single day. You know, we've got chaos and crisis, or the biggest opportunity for wealth creation for real estate investors. Which one do you want? Life's about choices. Do you want the money to come to you, or do you want to just live a life of chaos and crisis and just listen to all the people with horror stories and things gone wrong? Yeah, I could sit here and complain, which I guess I did for about 5 minutes about what happened the last couple of weeks, but that's it. I'm not dwelling on that. I'm talking about what I'm doing to move my business forward. And by moving my business forward in a positive direction, that alone lowers the stress level. So you've got to really think about this. Do you want chaos and crisis, or do you really want to capture the biggest opportunity? I would argue in the last 12 years, and for some of you, for your lifetime. So just really think about this. The time now is to focus on survival and then on pivoting your business so you can capture this massive opportunity. You have less competition, you're gonna have more distressed sellers, you're gonna have better deals, and the pricing change alone will allow you to have massive appreciation over the next several years once things do decline price-wise. So I would say that it's gonna be like typical of other cycles where it's gonna be a slow and painful decline, and people are doing workouts and forbearances. So we're not gonna see the true reflection of what's happening today, probably for several months, but we also need to create revenue today, which means focusing on things with low risk, quick revenue cycles is a very smart move today. So let's talk a little bit about my war room, because this is really, typically we do it in my office, but obviously now we're doing it virtual. So it's gonna be a virtual war room. And the thing about it is there's a different kind of leader. There's a leader in peacetime that works really well, and there's a leader in wartime. And we've got to have that mentality that it's war. We're at war with a changing market, and we have to be able to implement extremely quickly on making the changes to stabilize our business and then focus on marching our business forward. So my question again, do you have a game plan? We're going to help you build your game plan. That's going to be me personally teaching this for 2 days. It is application only. It's a small group mastermind. We limit it to about a dozen students because I want to make sure I spend enough time in your business where you leave with tangible solutions. We get into the who, the where, and the how. And I want my group of followers and students and people that are listening to me to be the group that's winning and on the right side of the trade. I'm not the masses. You know, my mentors refers to all these buyers at the end of the market cycle, you know, building rental portfolios, using creative strategies to make deals work. And he refers to those as the mass of asses. So you got a choice. Do you want to be part of the mass of asses? Or do you want to be part of the group that really understands the market trend and is capturing this opportunity? You look at bellwether markets like Tampa, Vegas, just to give you two, you'll see pricing that went up to mid 200s, almost 300,000 in both markets, went down to mid 80s in both markets, is now back up in mid 200s. We're talking 300% swings either way. Smart investors understand that. They sit on the sidelines. They know when to buy. They know when to sell. And like one of my mentors said, it's not important to call the bottom of the market. It's important to call the top. Because typically when things are distressed, it'll stay at the bottom for a couple, 3 years. But at the top of the market, things flip like a dime, which means you've got to understand how to look at the numbers, understand market cycles, so you know when to buy, you know when to sell, you know when to wholesale, you know when to do an option contract, you know when to transfer the risk to the seller or the buyer, when to sit back, when to watch and wait. And there is an element of watch and wait, especially when it comes to buy and hold. Even if you look at the commercial space, the commercial world is changing. You've got certain businesses that are just killing it. You've got entire industries that are going to go out of business. So it's very important to not jump in and go all in on a buy and hold strategy when there's huge market risk. And I want to make sure that we dissect those individual decisions that you need to make in your business and that you're making good, solid moves to survive, to stabilize today, and to plan for tomorrow. Again, it's going to be held virtually. And my goal is to create that boardroom atmosphere. I've done it physically. We've now have also done several virtual events since COVID hit. So I want to make sure that we create that intimate environment where we can dig into the problems in your business, which by the way, are probably similar to the same problems that other people are experiencing. It's a pretty awesome experience. And we focus on what you need to do right now in your business. Create a game plan for the next 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, 12 months. So again, if you're interested in this and you got choices. So if you want to move your business forward, you don't know how, this is something you should strongly consider. www.realadvisors.com. realadvisors.com/war room. Again, realadvisors.com/war room. Very limited seating. Normally we at the physical event, we'll charge about $5,000 for this, but we realize the marketplace has changed. People that really need to see an ROI. I want people to see a really tangible ROI on this. So we're doing this April 23rd, April 24th, doing it virtually. I'll be at my office, hopefully, and we will be dealing with a small group of people and making sure that we go over problems and solves, give you a clear roadmap of exactly what you need to do. For the TB REIA members, it's $19.97. This is a fantastic deal, and you will see a multiple fold ROI on that investment. I'm very, very confident in that. Also, what I wanted to do is include, I did a 50-30 class, and I also did it over 14 weeks, and we call it the REI GPS, Growth Profit System. Essentially what it is, it's an expansion of my business. We did 14 modules where I taught exactly how I built my business. And I think it's important for you to have that basis so that you know how to pivot quickly, set up the right systems, set up the right processes, hire the right people, and do things the way we've done. Instead of being a real estate investor, I have a real estate business. So this is a key bonus that I'm including because I think it goes along with being able to pivot quickly. And the right companies are built in the right foundation. REI GPS will give you the right foundation. That was something we've sold to many students at around $1,500. Option one, you can do nothing. I'm okay with that, by the way. I totally respect people's choice. You can do nothing. Option two, you can go it alone. I also respect that. But option three is let one of the most active real estate investors, which is me in the country, take you by the hand and give you my systems and processes and my business model on a silver platter and show you how to navigate this market. And I like to have students, not just for one time, for years. And my most successful students have been following me, implementing my strategies for several years now. And I'm super, super proud of that fact. And those who know me, followed me for years, know who I am, know the reputation I built in this marketplace. And that's extremely important to me. And it's not worth spoiling that over teaching people stuff that just doesn't work. I want to make sure I can help you pivot your business, pivot quickly, so you can create legacy wealth in this next market cycle. Again, 3 full days. I guess we've changed it to 3 days. All right, so it's 3 days. We're training with me and my team on how to scale my business. I thought it was 2, but I guess it's 3. But I think it's 2. So actually it is 2. That was a typo. REI GPS, all of our SOPs. So we're going to give you access to the vault. So you'll have my SOPs, the things that we use daily in our business. So you don't have to recreate these documents. You can just jump in and use them. Satisfaction guarantee. Discount again for TB REIA members, $19.97. Dustin was gracious enough to have me on here. So again, realadvisors.com/war room. So that is my presentation for tonight. I wanted to make sure I got through it so I didn't stop to get in a coughing fit and then not be able to rapid fire and get you all of the information you needed. I'm pretty sure Dustin's recorded this. I'm not sure, Dustin, do you give out this recording? Is that something that you do with your platform?
Yeah, I was planning on it because I wasn't able to broadcast it.
Perfect.
Up on Facebook. So once Zoom renders this video, which sometimes takes overnight, I will throw it up onto Facebook and YouTube, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. That'd be great. If you could share a link with me as soon as that's up, that would be fantastic. No, I like when my stuff's recorded because I stand behind my words and I try not to be a flip-flopper. I try to come up with an intelligent position on something so that I can own that position today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now. So yeah, absolutely. That would be great. For those of you who are viciously writing notes and the rapid pace I went through this tonight, the good news is Dustin's going to give you a recording, and I'm assuming he'll put it out there on how you can access that. So yeah, Dustin, that's awesome. So while my voice is still good and I'm feeling okay, let's do a 15-minute Q&A. I really want to make sure that you got some questions I can try to answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you that. I don't like to give people BS answers on things and topics that I'm not proficient at. So do you have any questions for me, Dustin?
Yeah, we got a question from a new person.
Sure.
When I say new, I assume he's new to real estate investing based on his question.
Sure.
His name's Brandon. He said, is it possible to start real estate investing with no money?
It is. And like micro wholesaling, co-wholesaling, there's strategies like that. The wholesale strategy is something that people who have not been in real estate, especially now, you're swimming with the sharks with so much market risk around you. You'd be crazy to get in. Let's just talk about the fix and flip strategy. you're now adding construction risk, market risk. You've got contractor risk. You can get your budget wrong on your rehab. You can get your resale price wrong. You can get crushed. Wholesaling, you're locking up a contract using obviously comps and things and making sure you're not just shooting in the dark and locking up contracts, but you really significantly lower your risk. And especially if you're trying to sell someone else's inventory, make sure that you do research, that you are doing that and abiding by all state and federal regulations. And they're definitely, depending on what state you're in, there's lots of changes going on right now in regard to wholesaling. But wholesaling is the number one strategy for someone trying into real estate. And it's always been and always will be the most risk-free way to create revenue. And in real estate, there's revenue creation, then there's turning that into passive income, and then there's the third component, which people don't consider, and they should, because this is where you get exponential growth in your investments. It's keeping the government away from your money, which is lowering your taxes. So that's really the progression of a real estate investor. How do I earn money today? Where do I park that money? How do I get to keep it? Which is really, and a tax is a key component of keeping your money. But if I was you, I'd be starting in wholesaling. That's a strategy I'd pursuing right now.
Yep. And you mentioned something called micro wholesaling.
Correct.
Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Yeah, micro wholesaling is essentially positioning yourself between a wholesaler that has inventory and a wholesaler that has buyers. You're essentially operating as the middleman. And what's nice about that is you don't have to have houses, you don't have to have buyers. You find people with buyers and you find people with houses. So that's a very, very niche strategy. And this is why I love wholesaling. I've done all of these. People call them cute, clever names, but ultimately I've sold other people's stuff. They've sold mine and I've acquired it and dispoed it myself. So I've done all three of these strategies. I'm just putting names that are commonly used on these strategies right now.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of the micro wholesaling myself. In fact, what you said kind of sounds like co-wholesaling, which you mentioned too. But how do you differentiate co-wholesaling from what you call micro wholesaling?
Yeah, typically I consider wholesaling just trying to work on peddling someone else's inventory. So that's where they lock it up and you go find the buyer. The micro part is where you don't have either. You're just in the middle. You're purely in the middle of someone else's buyer and someone else's inventory. So I think it's a very, very slight, subtle difference. And again, people refer to these things as different things, but ultimately you can choose on buying stuff and have someone else dispo. You can just focus on dispo and building up a fantastic buyers list and pushing other people's houses. As long as you're not violating state and federal rules, there's lots of regulations, so make sure you check into that. Or you can position yourself in the middle with no houses and no buyers and just find the people with houses and find the people with buyers.
Now, speaking of regulations, there's one that comes to mind, which is probably in every state, which is selling houses without a license.
Correct. I'm licensed. I'm a licensed broker. I've been licensed, Dustin, and everybody else for 14 plus years. So I'm not afraid of being licensed because I don't do things that are illegal. And there's a lot of misinformation about that. To me, having a license adds a lot of legitimacy to what you do in your business. And if you're doing something wrong, whether you have a license or not, you should be looking into why you're doing that in the first place.
Right. So since we have some new folks on the line tonight who don't have licenses, who would like to possibly co-wholesale, I already know the answer to this. I just kind of want you to say it out loud.
Absolutely.
What do they have to do to make sure they're not selling somebody else's inventory without a license?
You want to have an equitable interest in the property, which is where relationships are key. You want to make sure that you are you can own a property and be on title. You can have an equitable interest, and having an equitable interest in a property means you're selling your property and not someone else's. So that is a much longer discussion, but essentially the cliff notes are, if you're selling your property in most states, you don't need a license. If you're selling someone else's and transacting a property for someone else or brokering a deal, that's where you require a license. So that's the most simplistic third grade language I can use. If you're selling someone else's deal, you need to have a license. If you're selling your deal, and there's multiple ways to create that equitable interest, but this is something where you should consult with a real estate attorney to make sure that what you're doing, particularly in your business, is not violating any rules and regulations. The other rule of thumb, I would say, is disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. Don't hide what you're doing. Be truthful about what you're doing. make sure you specify the kind of deal you're doing and that you've given a clear indication to a seller or a buyer exactly what you're doing. Those who get in trouble, not only is it for minor infractions, it's typically for trying to deceive either a buyer or a seller or state something that's not true. So
Right.
always be transparent with the kind of deal you do. And I would argue if it came down to a minor infraction or trying to deceive someone and create a scenario that's not true, I would much rather have a minor infraction any day over a non-disclosure issue where I'm purposely hiding or trying to deceive either a buyer or seller
Right.
all day.
Right. So another clip notes is you want to have that property under contract before you try to sell it, even if you're co-wholesaling or a JV, some sort of JV agreement, for sure.
And I fought the state on this, by the way, and we've showed them our paperwork and never had an issue. Yeah, I actually had a wholesaler who was a JV partner and they went to come after me and we showed them the paperwork. And then ultimately the way that shook out is that the state took the position on our deals, there was no problem. But unfortunately, that same wholesaler was advertising other people's property that he did not have an equitable interest in, was not a JV partner. And so the state said, no problem, we're sorry, and did go after that person specifically for peddling other people's properties with no interest in those properties.
With no contract, that's correct. And that's why
no JV agreement. Yeah,
yep,
correct.
that's that subtle difference that I want to make sure everybody's aware of.
Absolutely. No, that's great, Dustin. I appreciate you clarifying that. I'm certainly not trying to be ambiguous or talk in circles.
No.
Yeah,
No,
this is something I do on a daily basis.
People online that don't know what that means.
I
So
appreciate you clarifying that.
the same fellow wrote in another question regarding wholesaling. His question was, if you are doing a co-wholesale deal and joint venturing, how do you protect yourself? How do you keep them from going around you or cutting you out of the deal?
You've got to specify that stuff. I mean, that typically comes down to exclusivity or non-exclusivity. And so typically if you have anything that's non-exclusive, you could be putting time and effort into something and not get an ROI on that. That's honestly, I'm the biggest fan of owning, controlling my deals and selling my deals because I have complete control. Owning, controlling for us is a pillar of our business, whether it's the cannabis space. So we own and control licenses. We're not at the risk of trying to work with someone on a non-exclusive basis. Yeah, typically when you don't own or you don't control it or you don't have an exclusive, that presents a huge amount of risk for you in your business. And I like to minimize risk by owning, controlling, and exclusivity.
Yep,
and,
exactly.
And also, even whether you're a realtor, if you want to be on the listing side or a selling side, all day you want to be a listing agent. Why? You control the inventory. Everyone else is running around their car, or virtually running around, trying to sell your house while you sit back and let everybody else do the work. So if you want to position yourself on the right side of the trade, controlling the inventory and the acquisition side, I would argue is the better side of the trade to be on when it comes to wholesaling, because that way then other people can run around and do dispo. You could just focus on locking up great deals.
That's right. That's right. Good advice. Two people wrote in and asked you what the name of that book was that you recommended, because you said it kind of quick. I didn't catch it.
Atomic Habits. Just like an atom. Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Yes.
Okay, I heard habits. I didn't hear atomic.
Yeah, Atomic Habits. Great book. Really easy read. I'm not a big reader, by the way. I learned a lot more from my mentors and conversations and masterminds, but that is a great book. Really easy read.
All right, thank you for that. Caroline wrote in and asked, what is SOP? A lot of
standard operating procedure.
Don't always understand the jargon we use.
Absolutely. An SOP is a standard operating procedure. When you turn something that you do regularly into a system, typically you have a standard operating procedure, which means you can hand the manual to the next team member, whether it's a VA or someone processing in your office, your bricks and mortar office. But the key with an SOP is you do the work one time to write out the system, and therefore you don't have to keep explaining it. And it means that it can be replicated over and over the same way and be done with the same consistency.
Yep, and you can also do something very similar with like your VAs, record some videos of that procedure, walking them through how to do it step by step by step. Same type of thing. Thank you.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, she actually wrote in a second question now that I see it. She's newer And she's asking, is your war room training only for seasoned investors? Great
It's
question.
for someone who has a business. I would say it could be small, could be large. I can help you, but for someone who has no business, that's why there's an application process. This would not be the right place for you. Now, we do have other trainings. If you go to realadvisors.com, you reach out to our support team. We do have beginner programs. We have a quick start program, which we're actually relaunching to be able to teach people how to start virtually. But the war room would not be the right course for you. The quick start program would be.
Saying that, because we're a local REIA group and we cater to a lot of new and intermediate folks.
Yep.
And if they get really good at this, they kind of quickly outgrow our little weekend trainings and things like that. So it's good that they have some higher level education that they can go to, which is why we bring in folks like yourself. So
I have multi-million-dollar students, Dustin. I've got many multi-million-dollar students that they earn like 7 figures plus in their business, net.
Yep. So it's good that we have a place that they can go learn and go to that next level and way beyond.
Awesome.
So we're just a local REIA group. We try to teach the basics to get people going, to get them to start their business so they can succeed in this business. But sooner or later, like I said, they outgrow some of the weekend workshops and want to take this thing to like the PhD level.
Yeah,
so
sure.
We're glad you have programs like that available for them.
Awesome.
So thank you for your question, Caroline. Okay, so this question's from Tom. He didn't state his last name. I know in the past you've been a big buyer at foreclosure auctions.
Correct.
Are you still heavily buying at foreclosure auctions? Do you expect to do a lot more of that in the near future?
So we stopped buying for the last year or so at foreclosure auctions because as the market's been approaching peak, the pricing wasn't making sense with the commensurate with the risk at auctions. So I have bought multi-thousand properties at auctions. Right now, we're heavily buying directly from sellers. So as the opportunity changes, you need to change your purchasing patterns. But I fully expect before the end of the year that we will be heavily buying at auctions again. Once the herd thins and the competition leaves, then it's a good time for me to jump back in.
Okay, this is a
Market
question
cycles.
from Michael. He wants to know, and this is good for Florida or Georgia, or wherever you're listening in tonight, is visiting a house for wholesaling that you want to buy legal with the lockdown in Florida? Basically, another way of saying that might be is this is real estate investing an essential business, buying and selling real estate, an essential business there in Florida and or Georgia?
I don't know Georgia law. We have looked at county regulations and we have determined that the element of our business is an essential business, but this is something you want to research with your attorney and make sure that you get a clear answer that you're satisfied with. But we've had to be able to look at homes virtually. We've actually, in a lot of cases, had the seller send us a bunch of pictures and to determine, because what we don't want to do is lock up someone's property and then do an inspection and then fall out. So we've actually got really creative with this, and this is a good strategy for you. Have the seller send you pics. And if it's a maybe, at that point, you want to look at doing your own inspection. But sometimes just from the seller's pictures, you can clearly determine that your pricing is wrong. You can then pre-negotiate before you go under contract. But that is one thing we've done over the last couple of weeks is pushed the seller. It may change part of our script to say, is it possible that you can get us pictures of the property? This will speed up the inspection process. So we position it as a benefit for the deal. But that is a business decision you need to make. It's a great question, but you need to be thinking virtual with everything. And we have been able to come up with a virtual solution for virtually everything in our business because we've had to. I'm working from home and my team is scattered throughout Hillsborough and Pinellas and Pasco County. And the rest of my team is in Hawaii, nationwide. And it's actually, bear with me 1 second, by the way, the concierge.
Sure. And hey, while he's doing that, I wanted to mention Georgia. I was told here in Georgia that real estate buying and selling is considered an essential business. And I know agents that are going out and showing houses as we speak. They're putting all their gear on and they're showing houses. They're not doing open houses with lots of people congregating, but they're showing houses on, one by one basis with their customers. Also, I heard a stat today at a webinar I was on with a local broker that vacant house sales, vacant houses are outselling occupied houses for obvious reasons during a pandemic.
Yeah, we're getting some extremely distressed sellers right now. We've locked up over the last couple weeks some just incredible deals. People are scared and people want their cash. The value of cash today in people's minds has elevated significantly.
Yep. So, Michael, I hope that answered your question. I do believe here in Georgia, you can still go out and look houses. I know Chrissy's going out and looking at our rehabs daily. She's protecting herself and all that. And I know agents are. So I don't know about Florida because I haven't been down there in a month. And I haven't heard from any of my
We're
friends.
operating our business, but I really would recommend that you look at making a business decision on that and do your own research, because if you talk to 10 different people, you'll probably get at least 2 or 3 different answers on that question.
Yep, for sure. Even from attorneys, they don't always know.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
that's why we have attorneys, right?
Yeah, I was debating with Chrissy today. Oh, he's saying the lockdown's till the middle of May, and I'm saying no, it's till the end of April. I looked it up on the governor's website. It's to the end of April. He was wrong.
Yeah,
but,
and it's interesting you say that. I personally think if we keep trending the right direction, that lockdown is going to shorten. But the key is it's going to be on that daily data. Are things trending down? How quickly are they trending down? And I don't think anyone actually knows. So we're planning on what we do know, which is that we need to operate our business virtually today, and we're making our business efficient today. And that's what we're focused. We focus on what we do know and try not to speculate on what we don't know.
Yeah, we need to focus on not only what we do know, but what we can control.
Correct.
We focus on what we control. We cannot control the government and when they're going to release us from quarantine and all these things. We can control what we do on a daily basis.
Definitely agree with that.
So this is from Joshua. He said, what list are you noticing good responses with wholesaling right now during the COVID thing? Because you were talking about COVID sellers and COVID buyers.
That's a great question. Out-of-state owners, pre-foreclosure, pre-tax deed, divorce, and probate.
Okay.
So probate, out-of-state, pre-foreclosure, pre-tax deed.
Okay, this next question is from Isabel. Are title agencies closing virtually or locking up deals with a COVID addendum? What do you know about? Because Florida
is we're closing virtually. Yeah, there is resources now where there's people that will do closing virtually. We actually have in-house notaries, and we're able to do mobile notaries. And the title companies we work with, most of them have pivoted towards a virtual solution, but we have no problem getting deals closed.
Yeah. Now, can you, just for our audience, can you explain the difference between a virtual closing and what we've been doing for years is like a mail away closing? Are they the same? Are they different? What's the difference?
No, what's happened is there's actually apps out there where they can log on with a camera and they record the closing, and they actually, it's a true virtual closing. So
okay. So it's not like a mail away.
No, and then the mobile closers, we're still able to get mobile closers. That goes back to that business decision of being essential and non-essential. We have not found that we are unable to close a deal due to the notary or title part.
Okay.
Like that's my personal experience in my business. But I've got lots of my tool belt between having title companies that are virtual, having in-house notaries, and we're a bigger business with a bigger team, so we would definitely have some different tools in our tool belt than a beginning investor. But we have not had an issue with that.
Okay, looks like we're starting to wrap up these questions.
Sure.
I had a couple myself. I'll get to it here in a second. But yeah, this is just a comment. I thought it was a question. It's from Walter. He's from there in Tampa. He said, my agent neighbor says he's never been so busy as is showing houses to buyers by doing video walkthroughs.
Oh yeah. And that's a great, this is where those efficiencies we talked about. Now agents are forced to take high quality 360-degree videos. And so they've improved the customer experience. And now buyers get to virtually tour the house without having to put gas in their car, without having to have the risk of putting on masks and gloves and all that nonsense. Mm-hmm. And so there's some really good things coming out of this. That's a clear example of people innovating, and now the market and the professionalism level going up. So now it's a benefit for the agent. They don't have to go meet someone. It's a benefit for the buyer. and it's raised the quality of the showing by having these high quality 360 virtual tours. So that's a very good example of that.
And his point is they've been busier than ever. And I've noticed that myself. I've been busier than ever because I've had to make this pivot, make this shift. Like you said, you are in your business, going from live in-person meetings to virtual meetings all of a sudden. It's a lot of work.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure.
So everybody's busy trying to adapt and overcome to this new world we're living in today.
Awesome.
And then Michael wrote in and said, could I get a copy of the slides? Michael, I am going to throw this up on Facebook probably tomorrow on the Tampa REIA site and our Tampa REIA YouTube channel. So you can watch the whole thing from the very beginning when Don was talking through my intro and Lee's entire presentation.
Awesome.
So as we start to kind of wrap up, because like I said, I didn't want to keep you late. I know you're not feeling well.
Thank you.
You'd mentioned, you were talking about buying, the lowest wholesale price and then taking 10 or 20% off.
Yep.
So you're buying below the lowest comps, trying to anyway.
Well, I'm targeting my exit as being 10% lower than the comps because
So
I'm accounting for the market shift.
And that's where I'm kind of going with this. And we're talking about the low comps. I want to talk about the exact opposite, the high comps. If you're still planning on fixing and flipping.
Yes, but we target our exit as the lowest comp, and we discount the lowest comp. So we would try to beat up the deal and kill the deal. And also we don't rehab in neighborhoods where nothing's moving or prices are declining, because now you're chasing a falling knife.
I'm asking this question based on being your buyer, being your cash buyer is going to cash you out and rehab this house.
Yep.
And just from your experience, because I know you rehabbed yourself, how are you calculating the after repair value right now?
We're not.
Knowing?
We're not. We just look at the trends of what people are buying. I found people's exits so screwy right now that I don't try to question them. The only thing I care about is what is the wholesale value of the asset. I don't try to understand my buyer's exit. You go to Pinellas County right now, you're selling stuff pre-rehab at 80 cents on the dollar. It makes 0 sense, but it doesn't have to make sense. We're day trading real estate when we're wholesaling. And one of the mistakes that I've made in times past is trying to do my buyer's homework for them. Right now, I just want to understand retail pricing. I want to understand wholesale pricing. And especially if I'm wholesaling, I just want to know what is it worth today. I want to go a little bit conservative. So I've got some room to discount it to account for market risk. And I want to buy below that with my profit margin built in.
Well, I want to get this answer out of you. So forget that I'm your buyer. Put yourself, you're the buyer. You're going to rehab it.
Yes.
How do you know, based on what's happened over the past 3-4 weeks, what that house is going to be worth when you bring it onto the market 3 to 6 months from now?
I look at the actives, the pendings, and the solds. That's what we do. So we dig in specifically on what our competition is. How long has it been sitting? Is days on market going up? Is days on market going down? We look at pending. What's that?
They're going up.
Well, in some places, but then there's other places where stuff being listed today, pending tomorrow. So we want to understand that. We want to understand, is the pending higher or lower than active? If you've got active lower than pending and pending's lower than sold, you've got a subdivision in decline. We're seeing areas like Maryland, for instance, in the $300,000 to $500,000 range. We're seeing that things are starting to take a nosedive in a lot of those areas. So we want to when I say getting granular, I want to make sure there's stability. So I want to make sure that there's liquidity, the stuff is moving, and that every active comp, that if I see a situation where it's all actives, no pendings and no solds, I'm scared to death of flipping. I want to wholesale that asset and transfer the market risk to the buyer. I don't want to rehab there, because now it's the falling knife. It's an ambiguous sale. What are you going to sell it for? If everything's active and nothing's selling, at some point, person A lowers, then person B lowers, then person C lowers it lower than B, and then you get into this price war.
Yep.
Where are you going to sell yours? I have no idea.
I did see what your slide. Make sure you do your rehabs nice. Don't half-ass it.
Behind the walls, correct.
So we're a month or two ago, where we were putting houses on the market, selling that same day or the following day really quick. Since this has hit, it has slowed down. Where our properties are, and they're nice, they're maxed out, but they are sitting on the market a little bit longer, up to a month now. We finally got one under contract. So they are sitting a little bit longer where they are here. And again, I don't know where this is going to go 3 to 6 months from now. So I guess the moral of the story is, and you said it earlier, you got to buy right.
Yep.
You got to buy right, because right now we don't necessarily know what we're going to sell it for. So we've always historically based our after repair value on the lower comps, the middle range lower comps, so that we had from the middle all the way to the top as our buffer. And
Yep.
many times we'd sell it at the top or above the top, size rehab, but that was a bonus. We bought it right, and you guys got to buy right too.
Yes.
So you heard him say 10 to 20% under some of the low comps. Brandon just wrote in, and this is a great question we've been talking about throughout this week. I assume you know the Ron LeGrand Mayo formula.
Yep.
I think you're friends with Ron, right?
Yeah.
Yep, me too. The after repair value times 70% minus repairs, minus your wholesale fee. Brandon's question is, are you still using 70%?
70% works if you're lowering your exit price and raising your capex. So that's where the error comes in. So 70%, if you're using a low rehab budget and a high comp, doesn't work. This is where you got to understand the variables that are going to swing the needle as far as mitigating risk. If you're wrong on your exit, that's typically the place that people screw up most. If you're rehabbing a house, the second place that people screw up is on their rehab budget. So be conservative on your rehab budget means you go high. So you take the highest estimate, and be conservative on your comps, which means you take the lowest comp. That's how you build in a margin of error.
And I hope you caught that, Brandon, because if your ARV is too high, your offer is too high. And if your repairs are too low and they end up being much more, you're just going to kill yourself, because wholesale or rehabbing, like he said, is one of the riskiest parts of our business. The biggest outlay of cash, the biggest amount of risks. And here in Atlanta lately, we've been having trouble getting our permits in a timely manner, like you said. It has been a bit of a challenge. So I think that was you answered all my other questions through their questions. So that's all I had for you. So we're good on time. We're going to get out of here 15 minutes early so you can go take care of yourself, take your medicine, hopefully get some rest. Are you okay now?
I'm feeling good enough for tonight. Yeah, I think I'm going to wake up and see how I feel in the morning. But
earlier you were talking about going to the hospital later this evening, but you're okay?
Good for right now, yes.
Good. Because I heard you say something about you had some medicine coming in and everything.
Yep, I've already taken that, so I'm doing good.
But you look good considering, man. I think you held up well, and we really, really appreciate you being here. Can you give out that link verbally one more time for people that want to maybe go check out that war room? Yeah,
absolutely. It's www.realadvisors.com. That's realadvisors.com/war room.
And I did put his Facebook link up in the chat box earlier tonight. He's easy to find on Facebook. Just look him up, and you guys can connect. And you live there in the Tampa area, correct?
Yes, I do.
I thought so. For some reason, I thought you lived in Jacksonville, but then again,
no, sir.
I thought it was Tampa.
We have an office in Jacksonville, but I live in Tampa.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, I really appreciate you being here, Lee. And man, you're a trooper, and appreciate you spending the evening with us. And man, I hope you get feeling better soon.
Thank you very much.
You get to see your family again real soon.
Thank you.
Are you doing FaceTime and stuff with them?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Every day.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are they, by the way?
Tampa, and Ireland.
Okay. So I assumed you guys all lived together and they had to move out temporarily, or you're in an apartment, or what?
Yeah. I'm separated. So, but my child's mom and my child live in Tampa. My parents are in Ireland, and my sister's here in Tampa.
Okay. Yeah. You remind me of Russell Crowe.
I guess that's not a bad thing. I could think of worse people to look like. Yeah.
Yeah. Your picture, you look a lot like the Gladiator.
Are you not entertained? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, man, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you again so much, Lee, for being here tonight. And God bless you. And we've been praying for you, and I hope you get well very soon.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate all the kind words. Thank you.
Yep. I'm going to hang around for a few more minutes, folks, and say a few words. But Lee, if you want to sign off, thank you so much, man. If you guys want to say some nice words to Lee in the chat box, please do so. But I want to thank everybody for being here as well. Again, check out our calendar, tamparea.com/calendar for upcoming events. We're also going to be inviting you to all of our Atlanta events that we're going to have a lot of soon, because I live here and we do a lot of live events here, and we're converting them all over to online events. So as a Tampa REIA member, you'll be able to attend them at no charge. As a non-member, most of them have door fees. So you'd have to pay to get into a lot of these. But again, even if you're a non-member, you can attend our Atlanta REIA meeting on Monday at no charge. We're waiving the fee just like we did tonight because we want you to be there and check it out and see what you think, because we want to be here for you during this pandemic and when it's over. You're going to need to collaborate with like-minded folks like us who aren't all about gloom and doom, but we're about identifying the problems and creating solutions and taking action, just like Lee's been talking about tonight. If you want to survive and thrive, you can't be having a pity party. You got to take massive action. You got to have a plan, like he said, and start making some things happen. There's a lot of people out there hurting right now. And you can put the word out that you solve problems, that you help people with their housing problems. You can probably start getting a lot of leads and a lot of people to talk to. So if you can help identify the problem and come up with a solution to fix it, you can do very well for yourself, like right now in this economy and going forward. Because things are going to change, but we want to be here with you when it changes. And that's why I encourage you to join our group. We're only $100 a year, very inexpensive. We were planning on raising the rate later this year, but now that this has happened, we're probably going to keep it where it is for a little while. We've been at $100 since we started. You know, we're trying to keep the bar real low where you have no excuse for not jumping in and taking advantage, because if you start doing some of the things that we talked about tonight, that we're going to be talking in upcoming weeks, you can get some paychecks coming in real quick. Start building your business so you can take advantage of programs like Lee talked about tonight, where it's 1997, but you got to have some experience and have already built a business. Or you can take advantage of programs and things like Don talked about earlier with the Property Protege Group. You can start coming to some of our really highly affordable workshops. And we're going to be doing 3 online this month, 3 over the next 3 weekends. So plug in, join us. It's $100 a year, tampareia.com/silver for silver membership, and we hope you will. And I'll throw in those 2 events at no charge, and you can come to the 3rd one for $49 if you want to go to all 3. So that's all I have for you tonight. We're about 10 minutes early to wrap up. This is normally where we break and do some giveaways and go down to Bahama Breeze, but that's not happening tonight. So the cocktail party happy hours at your house tonight and at my house. So I'm going to go have a cocktail and some dinner with the family and try to enjoy the rest of the evening. We really appreciate you all being here. And we will throw this up for those that asked. We will throw this up tomorrow on Facebook and YouTube. Sound good?
Awesome.
All right, Lee. Thanks
Thanks
again
for having me.
Being here. I hope to see you again in person under much better circumstances sometime in the very near future. But I will keep in touch with you and see how you're doing. And like I said, hope to run into you again down in Tampa in the next couple months. Looking forward to it.
Thanks again.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Good night and God bless. Hopefully, we'll see some of you guys on Monday at Atlanta REIA since it's online. area.us/online if you want to sign up for the webinar now. Good night, everyone. God bless. See you soon. Thanks again, Lee.